So I have a confession to make.
What you got?
Absolute confession. When we were pretty much our entire friendship of internet friends, like Instagram friends, before we did the real, but it was at some point, 100% thought you were gay. 100% thought you were a lesbian. And it was just like, okay, well, it's like an attractive female, but it's tattoos and the fitness thing.
Snapbacks.
Never seen a dude like the skateboarding, all that. I'm like, oh, cool, whatever. Like LCK's just probably gay. Like but that's cool. And then I realized you weren't. But I probably didn't realize that fully until, I saw you, there was like, you'd always have a joke with the eggplant emoji or like, like I haven't been dating or whatever. What is it about starting a business solo dolo like that? And you weren't solo, your business partners, Paragon was successful, but like, what is it about it for you specifically that, cause I was the opposite. There was like an 8-month, maybe to a year period I wasn't in a relationship, but I don't know, like I liked that chaos or whatever. What allowed you to just stay incubated and just be like, nah, fuck it?
Oh man, like I don't even think I had room for other people like that, and I still like sometimes feel like that now. It's like finally have a boyfriend after, dear God, like a decade of being single, but it was just like I was always just so busy. Right? It's like I was your stereotypical person of like, how much can I do? Like, if you're like, hey, again, I was like, yo, you want to go skydiving tomorrow? And you're like, no. I was like, oh, bummer. Like, I've always been like the person that has FOMO when there's a lot going on. And so when I started working for myself and started the business, it's just like, I feel like every single day you just wake up and be like, what's broken? Like, what's fucked today? And so it just never felt like there was room for somebody else, getting our business started. And I think, it's like I'm so grateful, like our business took off so quick, so fast. And we were definitely, equal parts, like what we were delivering and what we were offering was solving people's problems. It was also right place, right time, And so especially here we were a brand new business, offering online workouts and all this stuff. And then the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
And so same thing, it's like, when was there time ever for me to be like, oh, I have space to, for another person? It was like, I didn't want to be single. It's like,
but it's not like you're less busy now. It's not like business is like, oh, we're just coasting. We're just like, we don't have big ambitions. Now let me ask you this. Do you as an entrepreneur, as an operator, do you make time? Like, do you have like best girlfriends in town that you see regularly, or are you still like very much lone wolf?
Dude, I'm just like a unique snowflake in general. It's like, I'm the friend that's like, I see you when I see you, and it's awesome when we do. We're going to pick up right where we left, but it's like, I've always just been that person. Like I always had too much on my plate, but I also equal parts loved every bit of it. And so it's like, even if you talk to me when I was fresh out of college, it was like, well, I was coaching CrossFit. I was traveling on weekends for CrossFit seminar staff. None of that really pays the bills. So also, would have a third job at like a Cairo office or, all these things, right? And so it was like, in my world, it's always just been like that perfectly curated chaos where also like, if you added one more thing, everything would break down, but like you've still got a hold of it, right? So yeah, it's like, I've always been that person. I've always loved that for sure.
So then why change up now? Why get a boyfriend now? And I got to meet Charlie. Charlie's fucking great. But like, what's different now? Is it like, okay, I changed locations. I'm here. Like, I always use the analogy. I watch people like driving down the street, and I'm driving and I see someone walking their dog, but the dog is pulling on that fucking leash. And in my head, I always like say to myself, like, who's walking who, bitch?
Yeah.
But I think about that as businesses. When we create these businesses, it's 100% like, I'm going to make money and I'm going to have freedom. I'm going to do what the fuck I want to do. I'm going to be the fucking man. But sometimes you sit back, you're like, who's walking who? Like, do I own the business, or does the business own me? So I've always found myself like, no, maybe I don't technically by 24 units in a day have time for a relationship, but I'm going to do one, or I'm going to pick up a hobby. I'm going to start playing guitar again, whatever it is, just to prove to myself that I'm not a fucking slave to my fucking business. Like, I built you, I breathed life into you. But so for you, why now?
Dude, I first of all, I relate to that so much, because it's like I said, it's like something you get in bed with very quickly is just like, there's always something that can be done. There's always things that, can be attended to. And so learning to shut that off, or learning to just be okay, with that. That's, here I am 4 or 5 years later, I'm still struggling with that, every day, right? But I think the thing is, it's like like I said, like a decade of doing you is awesome. Like it gave me a lot of time to figure out exactly what I did want in a significant other, and also a lot of exactly what I didn't want.
Is that from dating? And like, were you dating at least during that time? Because it's hard to figure out what you don't want when you're just like solo dolo, right? Because like so much of like this shit you get into in a relationship, you're like, yeah, a lot of that's on me. A lot of that's my bullshit. And now you're having to deal with it and we're getting into a fight over it. How do you like when you think about, because I was the same way. I am way more relationship ready now in my career than I was previously. And I had relationships that, and I think about where I was in business and as a human. I'm like, no, I was not there mentally, emotionally, business wise. I think I am now. How did you arrive to that? Or were you dating? Were you like at least figuring out who you are as a partner? Like,
so multi-part answer. I want to say this is it's like, running a business and working for myself and, you know, having contractors, having a small team to help do all of this, that grew me. You know, learning how to be a leader, having this big social media following that's always growing, you know, having all these people, it's like social media saw me grow up. You know, when I was 28 years old when we started all this, I was such a different person than, you know, now present day, it's like, everything is so nuanced. I'm a little more like calm on things. I'm not as black and white, or, you know, it's like, again, when I was 28, it was just like very like, I was a lot. I was just very opinionated, very like my way or the highway. You know, if you don't feel this way, you know, fuck you. It's like I grew up, like I had to. So it's like I think that so much of who I am today is a result of having to learn that and do that self-work. And growing a business is self-work. Like, that's it. That's the hack, right? Your business scales to your ability to grow yourself as a person, whether that's, you know, being able to, again, lead and grow a team, you know, whatever that is. And so I think business, more than anything, going to therapy for a lot of years for, you know, various things, also that. But truly, it's like, you know, again, just kind of looking back in time, like, dating apps are my personal definition of hell. Like, I've never used one, never downloaded one.
Yeah,
you could not catch me dead. Like, I can't handle that. And so it's like, even, you know, it's like, I always say, like, small talk definition of hell. Just always, you know, it's like, especially with nutrition coaching, fitness coaching, it's like, I love solving problems. I love nerding out over stuff. I love it, you know, having high-end conversations. And so it was like this, yeah, I might like meet someone, go on a date, but it's like, even present day, it's like all my close friends are business owners, and all my, you know, close friends are very high-achieving people, and it's just a different breed. You know, it's like, I do sometimes struggle to connect with kind of just, you know, I don't know that general population is perhaps a word, but it's like, if you work a 9 to 5, sometimes I do. I might like struggle to relate to you because, again, it's like I just live in this bubble of like, you know, when I started working for myself, and it was just like, how can we take, you know, we have this philosophy and we have this unique approach to nutrition, fitness, and we know that if people follow it, you know, it's going to change their lives. So how do we take it as wide as possible? And so it's like an obsession, right? It's the same thing as if you're a high-level athlete. You're probably really good because you're so obsessed with it, you have to be. And so, you know, to go on a date where it's like, oh yeah, like I go to my job, I fucking hate it. You know, I live for the weekends because I hate my job. You know, sorry, I can't relate. Like, I fucking love what I do. You know, but again, it's just, I've always been a high achieving person. Like,
it's so funny. You saying that. Even when I hang out with my buddies or whatever, that, again, this is not a slight to anyone who has a 9 to 5, but like, I always thought about it. Like, let's say we're gonna go. It's a fucking Thursday night. And a lot of people in the 9 to 5, like, Thursday night's kind of like their Friday, right? Yeah. They can go and get banged up and have a good night on a Thursday night, and all it means is they just go to work hungover. But if I'm hungover the next day and I'm out of commission, there is a whole slew of negative, like dominoes are just falling left and right, and they end up in my bank account in a bad way, or someone else's paycheck in a bad way, or whatever that may be. Like, there's a bigger, longer line of like, I am fucking up more things than just my headache the next day type
100.
Scenario. Now, here's something I used to do. I dated a girl when I owned the gym, and it was right in the stages when I started making real money with the gym. And I had a lot of employees. I started treating some people like my social circles. Oh, I swear to God, and this is so shitty, I fucking treated most of my buddies and shit like I thought like everyone worked for me. If we're like going out, like where we're going, like, all right, we're going here, we're doing this, we're doing that. All right, guys, we're done here, we're going to the next place. Like, motherfucker, we don't work for you. Like, even my girlfriend at the time, like, and this was when I probably shouldn't have been in a relationship, but I fucking was. you know, she coached a little bit. So maybe that was maybe where the blend was. But I would like find myself as an entrepreneur talking at people. Like, and again, didn't mean to, but I'm just like, all day long, I'm pulling the fucking levers. I'm running the show. I am so alpha in what I do. Then when I step into a relationship, you got to take the beta sometimes. Like, you got to be beta. You got to fucking be a bottom bitch and a top bitch sometimes. Like, it's got a little bit of both. Have you ever found yourself in a relationship or on a date, like going fucking aggro, like alpha on someone? Because that's the demeanor in the world you live in to have a successful business.
Dude, I mean, again, it's like, I feel like that was like my biggest hang up always, is it's like, if I would meet somebody new, it's like I always knew it was like, yo, if you don't love lifting, if you don't love being at the gym, like, we're not going to be together. And so, you know, it's like, do you know how many times I would like, you know, invite somebody to the gym and then it'd be like, oh shit, man, he doesn't even like wrap his thumb around the bar when he's deadlifting. Like, this isn't gonna work, right? But again, you know, it's like coming from that competitive CrossFit, you know, athlete background too. It's like, I'm so far removed from that years and years ago. But at the end of the day, your girl can still lift. You know, it's like, I'm still super lean, super jacked, six pack, you know, all this stuff. And so it's like, it was incredible to me how many dudes would have a complex with any of that, right? So in their world, it's like, oh, you know, she can lift more than me, or oh, she knows more than me, obviously about nutrition, but, you know, about the gym and fitness, like, and so that was always like interesting, realizing like, oh, that
surprises me that dudes, like, okay, if I'm looking at you and I'm going to take you out on a date and you've got an arm sleeve, essentially that's your way of saying no pussies allowed. That's what a chick who has an arm sleeve is essentially saying. It says no pussies allowed.
It's the hand tattoo.
Yeah, it's literally in the hand tattoo. How bad did that hurt?
Terrible. 10 ed. I actually, so like, all of my tattoos are so old at this point. I'm due to like get them re-outlined, recolored.
How long ago was the first? When was the first tat?
I mean, I started my sleeve when I was 18 years old. I'm about to be 33. So it's like, I think I got everything touched up probably 2016 or 2017. So again, it's like we're due. Everything's, you know, super faded. But that's part of the thing, is I'm just like, God damn, that's gonna hurt so bad.
Is that okay, is that a catfish?
Koi fish. A koi fish, tons of flowers.
Very Japanese. Is that very like Eastern?
Very Japanese, for sure.
Very. What? I don't. This canvas is fucking bare. And I'm not anti-tattoo. I just have not seen anything yet that has just sold me on like that on my body now. And I know I will see something and I will literally just stop whatever it is I'm currently doing, find the nearest place, and go get it. But it hasn't happened yet. Walk me through.
You're gonna hate this answer, and everybody hates this answer. It's like. You know, especially when there used to be like those tattoo shows on TV, like way back in the day, and, you know, people would be like, oh, you know, tell this like big story about how it inspired them to get like a fucking mermaid on their arm. It's like, I've just always loved tattoos. You know, I love how they look, but there's no like deeper meaning where it's like, oh, this flower, like, especially when you're doing something like a sleeve. It's like, we would go in and be like, cool, we're going down to the wrist today. What fits? What's gonna flow?
Sure.
You know, so
there's so much, you can't have fucking meaning for all of it. Yeah.
But people assume that it's like, nah, like tattoos actually can just be, you know, aesthetic, look cool. I mean, I guess you could assign some value after the fact, but no, it's like,
you just come up with shit for like every flower is a dude that I've fucking ripped his heart out. Like everyone, like just come up with some fucked
straight
up,
out of the chest.
Exactly.
But yeah, no underlying meaning there. But yeah, it's like that. People love asking that question. I'm like, bro, I got nothing for you. Sorry.
So let's go back this relationship thing. I just find this interesting because I've got friends, like I'll talk with, you know, colleagues that are married and things like that, or they have relationships and being business owners, and I feel like that's such a hard thing to navigate because a relationship, I do best when I think of it kind of like a business. Yeah. Like, okay, you've got roles, I got roles. We have a goal. Our goal is to get married. Our goal is to move in together. Or if we're already married and moving together, it's to have the kid. Okay, we already have the kid. It's to have a great family. Whatever the business goal is, you guys each have roles to play and you're contributing to this. And if one doesn't show up, we have issues and all this other stuff. So when you think about that now, you are fucking as fresh in relationship land as it is for an entrepreneur. What advice do you have for other business owners who are getting into a relationship? And even as far as you guys, you know, have moved in together, you guys are cohabitating, right? And it's like, what advice do you have on that front? Because it's a big step.
I think the biggest thing is just like I said, it's like because I was single for so long and because I went on, you know, so many bad dates or just even had relationships, again, you know, they didn't serve me, but I learned a lot from them and was able to take from them. The biggest thing is it's like, again, I was just so clear on exactly what I wanted. And it was like, I had created this world of total freedom, and probably a world that most people dream of, where it's like, well, I work when I want, where I want, when I want, how I want. As long as I have Wi-Fi, a phone, a laptop, like I'm good. If I can hotspot, I'm good. If I want to wake up tomorrow and hop on an airplane, if I decide, choose violence, I'm going to go to Iceland, cool, I can do that, right? I can move things around. And so again, it was like I knew that I probably wouldn't be dating somebody that had, a 9-to-5 job, because it's just like I wanted a version of me. I really did. Like I wanted a dude version of LCK that was just like, hey, like I love doing all these outrageous big things. It's not just like, oh, like I want to go like sit on boats. Like, yo, I want to be ripping on a wake surfboard. I want to go. I'm terrible at wakeboarding, like surfing 100%, right? But it's like, it's like the more single I got, the longer it was like I just started being like, well, shoot, if I'm not going to find somebody to do all these awesome things, like I need to stop waiting and just go do them, right? So it's like I used to have some days where it's like when I was living I did 4 years in Austin, did a couple of years, moved back to Dallas. And so if you drove 90 minutes, you could go surf in the middle of fucking Texas. Literally, pay $75, go surf for an hour. So the same thing, it's like how many mornings I would be like, oh, I'm gonna go do that. Or same thing, it's like I would go like wake surf that morning and then, stay up late working. Same thing, how many times it's like our new thing is it's like we went skydiving and now we're like, oh, how many days a week, right? So it's like that would be my ideal day. That was like, yo, I want to wake up, jump out of a plane at 14,000 feet above planet Earth, and they're like, go, right? And so it's like I needed somebody that could keep up with that intensity and that pace. And it's like same, kind of similar situation. It was like I'm just so much different than kind of your conventional person. Like I'm actually from the Midwest, so it's like there's so many things where it's like the conventional Midwest flow, in my small home college town where, it's like I assure you if I hopped on a plane back, the same people would still be working at the same restaurant or bar or coffee shop or whatever. It's just a different lifestyle where it's like we're very much the same, where it's like, yo, I want to be in the heart of a city, like hustle and bustle, like the more the better, like country and kind of slower paced life, like hate it. I can't handle it.
When you say you're from the Midwest, like,
we had bring your tractor to school day.
Oh, I believe it. I believe it. But it's so funny watching you from an online persona. It's like, okay, tattoos meet, like Cali vibes meet y'all. Like, where the fuck is this y'all coming from? I'm like, is she trying to grow her Southern demographic? Like, what the fuck is this y'all? But that's a Midwest thing. It's probably a Texas thing.
Dude, Texas, I remember it was actually, I lived in Dallas exactly a month. I was at the grocery store with a friend at the time, and like the first one, because I mean everybody just uses it.
Yeah.
I was just like talking to a friend about this. I was like, dude, it's just become a part of me. Like it used to be like, hey guys, hey, and it's like y'all. Like it just happens. It's never gonna leave. Like it's become one, like the tattoos. But
where you come from and the words you use are so interesting to me, because there are places like y'all, and then like if I said that in Cleveland, I'd get roasted by my buddies. But in the same token, I swear, not because I think it's a clickbait thing. I swear, like it's what I grew up in around my, I've got these grandparents that like they say it how it is. Like growing up around like words like words like cunt. Like that's a volatile fucking word that crushes people. But if that's in part of your socialization as a kid, and I never heard it volatilely used towards people, it's always inanimate objects. Yeah. Like stubbing your toe on the coffee table, like fucking cunt. Like it just that was a thing. I moved to Nashville, Tennessee. Oh god. And I'd never been to Nashville. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio.
People probably canceled you in person.
Dude, it was like I remember me and a buddy, we went out to a bar with a couple girls we had just met, and I said something like, I think a door, something slammed me in the elbow. I was like, fucking cunt door. And two of the girls left.
People probably levitated off the floor.
And I was like, what? I would never call you that. I'm like, that would be so rude. I called the door that. And they're like, that word is just, and it's just so funny. But even like come out to like, if we go out to like the West Coast or New York, just the certain people's lingo and like how they're raised and the way they say things, the way they do things. But you are such a unique hybrid because you have a little bit of like that Southern, I don't want to say it's definitely not Southern Belle, but it's like Southern, very pleasant, like that nice hospitality, very friendly. But at the same time, you might eat someone's fucking soul out of their eyeballs.
Well, it's like, oh man, like when I used to be on CrossFit gymnastics seminar stuff, I had to train myself to just constantly like semi-smile because it's like really rough resting bitch face. And like we would get back pictures and just die laughing because it's like, if you know me, I'm the nicest person ever, but it's like, if you were in the gym with me and it's like, well, yeah, like this little 5'3" jack chick's over here ripping 300-pound deadlifts, like you'd be like, what?
Yeah.
But
what
yeah,
is with girls and resting bitch face? Why is it like when there's no, it's like when a female has nothing like it's like if there's nothing going on mentally and they're just at a pause, there's just this look of like, I hate you. Like, leave me alone.
I blame genetics. My mom has very pronounced cheekbones. I have a little bit, so I think part of it's that. But yeah, it's like that the RBF has always been very real. But kind of back to your like Midwest question, it's like, growing up in Central Illinois, like I said, it's like we had bring your tractor to school day. Like we didn't have a tractor, granted, but just it's a small, super super small college town, and it's was
it Illinois? Where'd you go?
Illinois State. Yep. ILSU. They had a really good nutrition dietetics program. Like I was that person that was like junior year. It was like, mom and dad love you. I got to get the fuck out. Like cities. I'm going because it's like I literally used to like drive to Chicago during weekdays. It's like I would get off school, like go do the thing.
I just need a fucking hit of like a real city.
I gotta go. I need people. I need stimulus. I need not corn and sunflowers. There's this underlying thing of like, oh, you need to get married as quick as possible, and you need to start pumping out kids.
Certain lifestyle,
stable jobs, all this stuff. And like, I get it. Like, our parents grew up in a fuck time.
Yeah.
I get it. But it's like I've always just felt, it's like my parents. I have 2 older brothers, and they're married, kids, all that stuff. And it's like I was always just cut from a different cloth. They're over here doing all these things, and they'd be like, oh yeah, how's your daughter? And it'd be like, oh yeah, she went to school for nutrition dietetics, and now she's doing this CrossFit thing, and then competitive CrossFit, and she loves traveling and like big cities and all this stuff. And that's like, I think thankfully, as I started my own business, in my late almost 30, almost I was gonna say almost 30s, but I mean like my late 20s would be a better way to phrase that. It's like, mutually, it's like everything kind of came full circle where it was like, oh, well, like now she makes great money, she's doing stuff she loves, she kind of settled down, which is still, it's like, I mean, shoot, you're here. It's I live in one of the prettiest places in the United States. My parents still won't visit, and I'm just like, why?
Yeah.
But I don't have kids like my brothers, and like I freaking get it. Like my mom keeps saying she's gonna come visit, and I actually really want to be like, hey, can we go skydiving? If not, we're going to take her on some, ridiculous hike, go down the coast or something. But yeah, it's like I just never fit in growing up because like I said, it's like, especially headquarters for State Farm, it's like that was what everybody aspired to do. And like, hey, that's great.
Sure.
Like sell insurance, you make great money, 401k, it's like I did that actually. I worked for State Farm for 6 months when I originally... It was right after I graduated college because they were opening all the new headquarters in place, and it was like, hey, if you move to Dallas, like we'll pay for it. And I was like, yeah, let's go. Like get me out of here, and I'll figure it out later, right? And then it was like 6 months later, I remember going back to my parents. It was like, cool. I literally need to go get my soul back now. This fucking sucked.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go do me, and it all worked out.
Seminar staff. So again, you were in school, you ended up, hey, listen, mom, dad, that whole educational route I was going here for a hot minute, I'm switching it up. You find CrossFit.
I want to pause though, because you're a dad. So imagine, that your daughter, I don't know what Illinois State tuition costs, but we'll say like it's definitely on the cheaper end compared to things out there. But like, let's say I graduated, got my bachelor's, and it was 30, 40,000. Mm-hmm. I think that's way more. I think it was more like in the 20, 25. But let's just say, you spend 50 grand, put your kid through college, and then they turn around and go, hey, mom and dad, that was cool and all, but I really love this fitness thing. I'm gonna go coach CrossFit for $25 an hour. Like, sorry, again, it's like now
that's
here
why they
I
won't
am.
come see you. They're still pissed. They're still pissed off at you. Okay, you go from coaching CrossFit, you end up how do you transition from like doing these classes, figuring out, because you have an extra gymnastics background. Mm-hmm. How did that transition? Like, did someone say, hey, I know someone at CrossFit HQ that can get you on seminar staff? Like, how did you get on seminar staff?
I love this. So I want to give the backstory. So how I actually got into things initially was one of my best friends, I quite literally just graduated college. One of my best friends at the time was competing at CrossFit Regionals and was hosted in Chicago. And so, of course, like drove up there for the weekend, support her, hung out all that weekend. And so, like I said, it was like I knew that I wanted to, I fell in love with CrossFit, found strength training. And like the backstory behind that, like I was like 92 pounds in college, like used to run marathons, little cardio bunny, like, it was like the longer distance, the better. And so I found, CrossFit, found strength training, all of this stuff, and it changed my life. And so I was like so passionate about it, and I just wanted to be, the best athlete I could be, lift more weights, like loved how it made me look, feel, all, checked all the boxes. And so, it was like, cool, well, I don't have a game plan for right now. So like, I'm a good job. I'm a coach. And so, we ended up, I volunteered at regionals. Like, you used to just be able to sign up to, volunteer for the weekend. So all weekend long, like, I love this about me. It was like, even when I was, here 22, 23 years old, I was out there hustling. Yeah. So it's like every single like higher up person that's wearing, big fancy badge, and it'd be like, hey, so I have a degree in nutrition. I really want to get into coaching, like happen to know anybody. And so sure enough, talked to the right person, got connected with Chase Ingraham that actually works for, does, broadcasting and stuff like that. He's been longtime seminar staff. And so that was who, I met him, and the conversation was literally, hey, you seem really cool. Like, I'm actually about to open this CrossFit gym in Dallas. Like, you want to help? And so, like I said, it was like the universal line. Like, here I had this shitty job at State Farm that was stealing my soul, but they wanted to, take me to this same exact city that this guy is saying, hey, come be, my head coach, help me, run this gym. Fuck yeah. Like, and again, it's like, I still, it's my favorite trait about myself is it's like, if something seems like a good idea, I will 100% always jump, and I'll figure it the fuck out later. Like, I'd rather it fizzle out and not work than like have the FOMO of like, oh, I could have done this thing. So same thing, it's like moved to Dallas, helped open this gym. And so I think gym had probably been open maybe about a year. And so it was like, as a coach, I was just so hungry to, again, it was like, I was so passionate about how can I be the best coach, the best person I could possibly be. So it was like, I was scraping together every single page in my name, sign up for certifications, courses and all that stuff. And so it was about 15 minutes away. It was in Aledo, Texas. There was a CrossFit gymnastics certification. And so I was super stoked because, again, it was like, that was like my specialty is, I'm the flying squirrel in the gym of like, oh, heck yeah, you want me to rip off 75, like kipping pull-ups? Whee! Yeah. And so, the weekend, mutually, it's like, I was always that kid in college that you probably like hated because it'd be like the teacher asked a question and you'd be like, oh, I got my hand up. Hey, please pick me. But same thing, here we are at the cert and they keep asking questions. They're like, hey, so over here.
So like, okay, she knows some shit, like, and she can move well, looks the part.
Yeah. So, obviously seminar staff has changed these days. They're actually known as the gymnastics course, but Charles Bangton, also known as Chuck, same thing, one of my longtime dear friends, but it was just like, he was one of the people just like Chase where it was like, just saw my potential that I didn't even know I had, right? And so, it was like, I think on day 2 especially, it was like whenever they would need demo, people would be like, hey, do you want a demo? Insert the blank. And same thing, I just kept chiming in. And so there's so much to be said for that, right? Because it's like, just, most people go to something like that and they're like, zippered up, not talking, not doing anything. And then meanwhile, you have this kid that's just like blurting out all these tips and tricks and, hey, you should do this. And, so Chuck is truly why I got on staff, just kind of saw that. And so same thing, it was like they invited me to another one and then, started doing them all the time. And like, God, talk about like best time of my life. Like if I could go back and do one thing, be like, hey, and it'd always be a last minute too. So it'd be like on a Wednesday, it'd be like, hey, this Friday, you want to go to Costa Rica? And you'd be like, what? And again, it's like a broke CrossFit coach bringing in like $2,000 a month, barely paying bills and whatever else. And you're like flying to foreign countries to teach something that you love and connect with people. Like, dude, like who needs drugs when you can do in-person seminars?
What is that like for the specialty? So 2014 or so, Castro comes into my gym, and I had one of the largest gyms in Charlotte, and he just would do this drop-in thing, like he'd drop in the gyms, and he's like, why don't we ever host certs here? And I was like, bro, I've been applying to host certs here for forever. He's like, call me Monday, here's my email address. And he made it happen, and for like 2.5 years, I hosted them. And but I was always kind of curious, like, what does that look like? Like, what do they pay you guys on seminar staff to do that? Like, obviously, are you given a per diem, and you're given like you're obviously your travel's paid for? Your hotel's paid for, but like you actually paid for the weekend?
So oh man, I wish I could like give a big smiley face to this section. The thing is, like, if you're one of the lead coaches, especially I would say more for like the level 1 or level 2 seminar staff, you make more money, but the specialty certs, well, they just cost less, so there's less money in general. But you would be doing really well for the weekend if you could just break even. So they would pay for your hotel, they'd pay for your ticket. But if you could break even on the time you're taking off and not making money, because again,
sure.
like coaching is a job. If you ain't working, you ain't making money.
Yeah, there's an opportunity cost.
But think about it. It's like, well, especially when you're traveling, well, you might spend $20, breakfast, lunch, dinner, basically, because you're going to be eating out or grabbing something on the go. We actually went to Costa Rica twice, and so same thing. Like those were the ones where it was like, ugh, shit, like you were making money on those, but it's so dope. But yeah, it's like the money, the paycheck they're writing you is also, you still have to take taxes out of that. So I'm going to say off the top of my head, I want to say it was...
So you were 1099 for that?
Oh, bro.
Really?
Bro.
There's no way they can still do that.
Oh, probably.
No, not a chance.
But I mean, CrossFit was also like...
It was like 2016 you were doing this?
Oh, no. This was like 2014.
2014, okay.
2015. Because I only did it for... It was about a year and a half, and then it was just like... There's also like a weird feedback loop where it was like, well, if you couldn't come or something came up, it was like, well, okay, cool. Then they just send the other people. So it was like you quickly learned it was like whatever I had planned, I need to figure it out and drop it off the calendar. Like I need to, for sure. So I want to say, and like I said, don't quote me. It was only a couple $100. Like I said, you were truly. It was like. You would scrape by and be like, oh, like, this is so cool that I don't mind, though. But yeah, I know that, like, if you're a lead coach, it was a lot more, but especially, like, if you're just the assistant coach, like,
It's...
labor of love, 100.
You ever hear the story how... Because I used to host the seminars, and then when I moved into the new building, we had a huge fucking issue, like a huge blow-up with me and seminar staff, and I got the letter the very next Monday that my location would no longer ever be used for anything held by CrossFit.
Blacklisted.
Dude, it was just, during the level 1, they go through muscle up progressions, and they give you like a level 1 and a level 2, like this is the exact equipment list you need. And I always had it plus some. So they needed 16 pairs of gymnastics rings. So I took 16 pairs and I hung them on the rig at all different heights, and so they could do their muscle up progressions. Well, my facility also, I was in the process, I had gotten rid of pull-up bars. Ooh. So I also had 24 pairs hanging from the rafters, 24 pairs of gymnastics rings. Well, the rafter is 30 feet up. They could get on a 30-inch box, grab the ring, pull the nylon strap down, unbuckle it, and just pull it from that So it's easy to take off the fucking 30-foot truss. Well, when they go to leave, how the fuck do I get it back up there? And you know this because you invited me to go skydiving, and I said, eat a dick, because I'm scared of heights. I don't go up on fucking ladders that are 30 feet high. So, I mean, I walked in on the last day, like, why did you guys take all my fucking rings down from the... I gave you 16 of them there. And one woman was pregnant. I forget her name. I think she's over the Mid-Atlantic region as like the affiliate rep or whatever. And me and her got into it so fucking heavy. And so it was this whole deal. I get quote unquote fired from hosting these things. And then this year I get notified, hey Stu, it's the affiliate rep out in the Pacific Northwest. We'd like you to come speak at a CrossFit sanctioned event. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here, bro. Like there's no way you're inviting me out to speak. Like CrossFit and me, like I'd be down. I'd love to. I don't want to even get paid. I would love that opportunity. Cool, thank you. I'm booking flights, I'm hotels. That chick, here's my name on it, and the story is that no, that dude is not allowed out here. He will never speak at anything we ever do.
Amazing.
And I was going to talk about real estate. I was going to do the real estate stuff, and it was so frustrating. I was like, Jesus Christ, this is all over this seminar thing. But the seminar staff thing I thought was always an interesting part of your journey, because it's one thing for someone to look at you, hey, she was in the CrossFit scene. Yeah. Hey, she competed at regionals. Hey, CrossFit turned, I don't know, maybe she's pissed that her shoulder got all fucked up. And so Paragon...
That was a me issue.
Yeah. But Paragon is now Paragon Training Methods is now this online resource that is a great solution for people who don't want to do CrossFit. There's a lot of people in the space that are like, anything that's not CrossFit is an enemy, right? It's, and you I'd put you in there and every other company. I don't care if it's fucking the Ready State and the Mobility One. I don't care if it's NC Fit. I don't care if it's functional bodybuilding. CrossFit was this sun. Yep. And we're all little planets around the sun. And then some of us got big enough, we just kind of spun off and created our own little universe. When you go back and you think of it now and in that whole trajectory, did you have personal relationship backlash? Like, when did you make the cut and you're like, CrossFit's not actually, it's okay, it's fine for you, it's not for me. Like, when did that moment happen?
So, oh God, I love this question because it's something, again, I talk about is it's like, our company was so right place, right time. We launched right, it was the same year, we didn't know this, but it was like when we launched Paragon initially back in 2018, it was in the same bubble when they had just gotten rid of regionals. And so you had this thing that, you know, in gyms, everybody just wanted to go to regionals, if it was just one time, like punch a ticket and go, and then like, you know, go have kids, make money, I don't know. And so it was like, we were just so right place, right time, because it's like, even, you know, at that time I was doing nutrition coaching and working with people, and it was like every single person was just the same kind of avatar, the same, you know, it's like if it had a checklist, it'd be like, yep, here, different person, same stuff. It was just like, there was so much to the CrossFit scene of, if you dialed back to 2013, you know, it was, hey, you should drink bulletproof coffee and do paleo. And I know you're like smashing Fran and all these reps and volumes and sets and just like doing the most. But fuck carbs, like don't do that. Like do this zone, do this black thing, right? So you have all these people that are like eating high fat diets, minimal to no carbs, and doing the thing. But everybody was fucking jacked. Well, you're doing so much volume that like hell yeah, your body's gonna be like, all right, whatever. And then, you know, it's like fast forward over time, and it's like, you know, there's just so many big things that's like, it didn't really matter which gym you went to. A lot of common themes you saw were like, oh, you know, like no rest day. You know, we used to do that. It'd be like, hashtag no rest days on social media. But it'd be like, no rest days, you know, more is better. Active recovery days is still like the one thing I'm like, God, put a gun in my mouth. Like, take rest days, you know, like recovery is the secret sauce, like getting from A to B. But there were so many things that were just kind of so embedded in the culture that, you know, over time, it wasn't even necessarily, you know, CrossFit, right? It was just like the implementation of it. And so it's, you know, if we talk about my journey, it's like here I found myself, you know, 2017, had to have shoulder surgery because I tore my shoulder during, you know, the snatch.
Labrum or rotator cuff or what?
Neither. So it was Bankart. It was torn in the front.
Okay.
So it was a very...
Is it from the gymnastics background and then you being this fucking, you know, they probably like, hey, Laurie on the summit, go ahead and demo for 1,000th time. Was it that, or was it like your own shit, like overhead squatting and snatching without properly, you know, being structurally sound there?
If I could go back in time, like, I think about this all the time where I'm like, if I knew now what if I could just go back in time, holy shit, I'd be an incredible athlete, like, be way more jacked, just way more everything. But it's just like, you don't know what you don't know. But it's like, I used to be the person that, you know, again, it was like, I might do the CrossFit class. I would do the extra weakness work. I would go do the, you know, the extra strength work. I would go to fucking yoga and go to do 30 minutes of, God, what was it? Conjugate gymnastics with Sean Lin. That was popular like 2014, 2015. So it was like I would spend like 3 to 4 hours in the gym every single day for, you know, compound over time. And so again, it wasn't, for me, it was never, CrossFit wasn't the issue. It was how it was being implemented and not knowing better and not having that education. But then also, again, you know, it's like, well, when you're in this gym space and somebody's like, hey, see you on Friday. Well, you're going to show up. It doesn't matter if you feel like fucking shit. Doesn't matter if you didn't sleep, hungover. It's like, you're going to show up, right? And so it's like compounded over time and years and years and years. It was like, well, our bodies are actually really good at adapting to whatever bullshit we give it. But at some point, the camel has to break. And so for me, it was like when I finally had shoulder surgery, it was that first time my body had a break. And it was just like everything, right? So it was like, you know, hormones, fucking garbage. Thyroid health, fucking garbage. Gut health, fucking garbage. You know, so all of these things just kind of like, you know, molted all at once. And so, you know, you get to this place and you're also just like, bro, like, what am I doing? I don't want to hurt anymore during workouts. I don't want to be lying on the floor. You know, it's like for
a reward that is monetarily insignificant unless you're the top 3 on the podium. And from an overall perspective, it's like, even if I'm gonna make the top 3, if I do that once, if I make it top 3 one time at the CrossFit Games, that's a 0.00001. To do it repeatedly, to keep getting that paycheck,
Absolutely
like there's no reason
Absolutely
in doing
not.
this. You'd love this. I spoke at a conference, and a CrossFit, you know, someone who's very into the brand. They came up afterwards, and they were very nice up front. They're like, "Hey, good talk. That was great. I know, like, but I don't like a lot of the shit you say about CrossFit or the brand or whatever it may be." And I was like, "Oh, that's cool. Let's have a discussion about it." And he mentioned he had tore his shoulder.
Yep.
I'm like, "Oh, bro." And I mean, he could see where I was going with it. I'm like, "Oh, did that happen doing CrossFit?" He goes, "Before you ask, it didn't happen doing CrossFit." I was like, okay, what happened? He goes, "I give really aggressive high fives." And I mean, he was dead fucking serious. I was like, come on. I'm like, "Bro, that's hysterical. That's a great answer. That's fucking funny. That's comedy." He's like, "No, I'm not serious. Like, I just give really aggressive high fives, and I tore my serratus or whatever." And I was like, "Oh, he's dead ass serious. He fucking thinks that." Like, no, dude, it's probably your fucking 1,100 kipping pull-ups you did.
Well, and there's more to that also, right? So it's like the biggest thing we always have to like kind of navigate with our programs is, you know, it's like our entire thing is just like, hey, when we have really good programming and we're using evidence-based principles and we're actually looking at what science supports, we know that like my business partner, swear to God, when I met Bryan Boorstien, I remember texting my best friend at the time, and I was like, "Bro, I just met my one-on-one coach, and literally his forearms are the size of my quads. Like, what the fuck?" And still to this day, it's like, Bryan is 40 years old and looks like he could be on stage next week. Like, it is insane what 20, I think he's been training 25 years, and it may be more, and, you know, programming 20 plus, but same thing, you know, it's like, he used to do stuff with John Cena, like he's taken multiple people and games and teams and all this stuff to, you know, CrossFit Games and, you know, regionals and all that stuff, and just like, he is the nerd over programming and exercise science that I am for nutrition. It's why we're such a, you know, a deadly duo, is it's like, put 2 and 2 together and give the ability to give both. You know, again, just the shit I would have known of like, damn, I wish somebody would have like educated me about like, hey, if you could take like 1 to 2 rest days and just like literally give your body a chance to recover from all the shit you're doing, you might actually get to where you're trying to go.
Sure.
You'll see, yeah, you might be seeing progress in PRs, but like you're gonna see it tenfold if you could also just give the body time to chill and, you know, put gas back in the car, right? And so it's like, he was so nerdy about all of that stuff. And so it's like with our programs, a big selling point is like, hey, if you want to spend 5 to 6 days in the gym, gangster, go do it. But it's like, if you knew that you could get the same exact results and only be in the gym 3 days or 4 days, why the fuck wouldn't you want to go live a big life, right? Like, I want you to come to the gym, have these really awesome workouts that are super fun, super effective, but like, go live life, right? Like, go spend time with your family, go spend time with your significant other, go fucking skydiving, you jump off a bridge,
Sure.
surfing, like, go do other stuff. Because again, it's like, well, yeah, if you could, again, why wouldn't you want the maximum squeeze on the lemon? And so it's like, that's such a big part of our programming and you know, kind of taking people to light on that. And so, you know, shit, man, like there's just so much more to that. And so same thing, it's like, yeah, I could go on this forever.
So walk me through it, because creating an online business, like, okay, you're doing the seminar staff thing, you're coaching part-time, you're obviously making money is not, it's, you know, you're enjoying life at that point, right? Money's kind of secondary. You're having a lot of fulfillment, your compensation's low. That's fine. Now, when did you start nutrition coaching? Did you start nutrition coaching at Chase's gym there and doing that is also, okay.
So I like, God, this ages me. You know, it's like I started at Illinois State in 2008. So it's like I was already like, even when, again, I've just always been a hustler with 5 million jobs. So it's like, I didn't know what I was doing back then, granted, but you know, it's like same thing, you know, I had some nutrition clients here and there. And then over time, you know, it's like I kind of like got away from it because I was so passionate about fitness. And then, you know, it's always just kind of been like this revolving door with things where it's like so many opportunities or so many things I was doing then all came together when I actually launched my business, where it was like, holy shit, I'm so glad I had that skill set. Or,
yeah.
You know, again, it's like insurance fucking blew for me. And again, if you love it, cheers, like love that for you, but not for me. But if you can sell fucking car insurance to somebody that doesn't want it in general, you can sell anything, right? It's like
especially something you enjoy.
Yeah, selling snow to a snowman. And so it's like I'm grateful for that, for the skill set that it brought. I wanted to circle back because I realized I never actually picked up your question, because you were kind of asking like, okay, like when you started this online platform and online thing, you know, like how did that happen, and what happened with CrossFit? It's like, I just hit a point after I had shoulder surgery where it was like, I didn't want to feel like shit anymore. And so, you know, our business started because I hired Bryan as a one-on-one coach.
How'd you find him?
Referral of a friend.
Okay.
Just random referral of a friend. Hey, this guy's really good at what he does. You should go chat with him.
So you said, hey, listen, man, I'm competitive CrossFitter. I'm a badass, but I got this fucked up wing. Can you write program? Like, was that around the same time you paired up with like Active Life? Did Active Life?
Oh,
like,
that was years later.
Okay.
So this was 2017. So I had surgery. It was like August or September of 2017. Okay. And then I basically, you know, I was trying all these programs out there, just trying to figure out like, okay, I'm burnt out on this CrossFit thing. Like, I don't want to feel like garbage anymore. I definitely don't want to have shoulder shit anymore, like the one and done on that. So I was just trying to find a more sustainable way of training that was also fun, but kind of gave me the best of all worlds. Like, how do I find programming? You know, it's like, CrossFit's fun. Like, there's no contest. Shit's fun. But you also might leave class. You know, it's like if you empty the tank, well, you're going to be left on the floor rolling around. Like, you're probably going to be zombie. You know, so that was the biggest thing, was like when I stopped training that way, and when I was just recovering and, you know, in a freaking shoulder sling, it was like, oh shit, like I went to the gym, but I can work later and have mental clarity. You know, for me, it used to be like, at whatever time I went to the gym, my workday done. Like,
sure, because chicken is cooked. My CNS is going to be fried. Yeah. There's nothing happening afterwards.
And so I never put two and two together that it was a result of all that stress. And again, you know, it's like exercise is stress, so that's the point. But there is a difference between, I'm in a competition redlining and emptying the tank, which is the only way I knew how to train, versus like, oh, well, if I'm lifting, you know, a certain RPE, reps from failure, you know, it's like, it's a different animal. And so it was just like, yo, like at the end of the day, like, I still want workouts that are fun. I still want to see PRs. I still want to push my body to its limits. But how do I do that sustainably? How do I minimize injuries? Because again, it wasn't just shoulder. It was like everything. You know, it was like, I might be like 30 something, but I feel like I'm 50, right? Yeah. How do I not just wake up chronically sore, chronically like joints aching, you know, all the stuff? And so I tried I tried all the popular things out there, and it was like boring me to tears, right? It's just, I guess it would be the equivalent of like if you're somebody that loves like spin class and F45 or whatever, and that's, you try to go like do bodybuilding with a 3-second tempo, and you'd be like, the fuck is this? Like, take it back. And so it was like, you know, I hired a one-on-one coach because I had tried all the popular programs out there, and I was like, this ain't it. Like, and so how do I look good, feel good, you know, train sustainably? And so that was kind of my first exposure to that, was with Bryan. And so, you know, after a few months of following the program, it was like, oh shit, man, like, okay, like my body composition's going back, like, but holy shit, like my lifts are starting to go up, but like my health market, like everything is actually working. Like, what is this magic, right? And so when, you know, fast forward over time, it was like 5 or 6 months later, and it was like, dude, like we're on to something. Because we had to problem solve so much, because it was like, there were certain things you program and be like, please don't ever program like 3 sets of 10 squats. Like, this is fucking torture. We're like, absolutely not. But, you know, so it's like we problem solved through so many things, but then it was like, shit, dude, like, we need to share this. Like, this is, I wish I would have found this sooner. Because again, you know, when you talk to the stereotypical person out there, you know, it's like most people generally want to just look good. You know, they want to look good. They want to look good naked. They want to feel good in their skin. Well, yeah, it's cool to see progress and be proud of what your body's doing. Yeah, but it's like most people want that. They just want to have fun, but they want to look good. They want to feel good. How do we give that to people? And so, you know, our program and our online community started because we solved my problem, and then my story became everybody else's story because, you know, we just put it out there.
That's where I want to time out there. So where I'm listening to the story, I'm like, okay, Bryan is your coach. You pay him, so he has some level of a business kind of gig. How does that go from you being a client of him to like you being like, hey, our program, like this thing we're doing? Is he just like, does he have another job? He's got like, you're one of like 8 clients. So, but like you give him so much feedback that he's like, you know, you're probably the one he's got the closest relationship with. Like at what point, cause I'm thinking to myself, like even when I started consulting with gym owners, if a gym owner's like, dude, we're on to something, let's go create a WTF Gym Talk consulting business. I'd be like, sit back down. You're the fucking client. Like, what the fuck? I don't need you. Or I'm already thinking that in my head. Like, how did you go from customer of his to like you guys going into business together?
Yeah. So if you dial back, like when we were still just launching Paragon in 2018, I had, I want to say like 30 or 40 one-on-one nutrition clients, and he was doing the same. Like I believe at the time it was like, you know,
that feels like that's borderline. That's almost like threshold of like capacity for someone to do one-on-one nutrition coaching.
Bro, no.
Like what's the capacity for one-on-one?
What's the capacity or what's optimal?
Sure, let's go. Let's go.
Those are different. It's very common in the nutrition space because I used to work for a big nutrition coaching company. Our company was not that way, but there are definitely companies where it was like you might have 120, 150, 175 clients.
For one person.
For one person. But that being said, you know, the level of coaching and detail they're getting
is more template based, like that.
You're getting back like a sentence email. Hey, your macros look great. You know, catch you next week. Like it's not like when I was doing one-on-one coaching, you know, it was like, hey, we're connecting on the phone for 30 or 60 minutes per person. You know, we're touching base every 2 weeks. So it just depends how you're doing your business model, because again, it's like, well, if you're working in a platform where you know, their macros and all their totals and stuff auto-populate into this interface, and you have feedback of exactly, you know, how they're sleeping, their digestion, sex drive, you know, all this stuff. That's going to be different than, you know, again, it's like, well, are you doing Zoom calls with that client to catch up or something? So
one-to-one versus one-to-many.
Yeah,
what kind of money are you making then? You're having 30 or 40 of these. What kind of money are you making at that point?
Yeah, so I love talking about nutrition coaching stuff, because at the end of the day, if you do very simple math, you could I say easily with air quotes because it would take a lot of work, but it is not uncommon to see nutrition coaches that are making 6 figures or more per month. Because I mean, again, just do the math of like, well, how many clients do you want and what do you want to charge? Sure. Because obviously, you know, what happens is you start out coaching for dirty cheap. It's like in college it was like, yeah, $50 a month. Sure. And now I'm like, whew, like absolutely not, right? But it's like, well, you get more education, certifications, you get good at whatever specific thing is your passion about coaching, right? So like for me, I never wanted to coach people where it was like, hey, I just want better abs, or I just want fat loss. Great. Like I'm the coach you want to come to if it's like, hey, like I really just want to find a better harmony with the way I'm eating, the way I'm exercising, all this stuff. And so it's like with nutrition stuff though, it's like I would say on average, you're going to see, if you're going to like a big company or something like that has, you know, tons and tons of nutrition coaches, well, they're probably going to be on the cheaper side. Whereas again, you know, it's like, I know some friends that charge, you know, $400, $500 a month for coaching. I think towards the tail end of my coaching, we basically made it into about 6 months of Paragon, and we were growing at about 100 members, you know, per month. So it was like, well, you know, 6 months in, we have 600 members, and it's like, bro, I literally can't keep up with the emotional capacity of like my 30 clients, because like I need all this time and energy to like do this thing. But if I could go back in time, it's like I think that having something like 25 to 30 clients, again, if you're spending 30 minutes, an hour on some sort of call or Zoom call, you know, they've got pretty broad, you know, daily access, like text you or do something like that is more than plenty. It's crazy to me to think back that I used to ever have more clients than that. You know, quite a few of my close friends will have closer to 40 to 50 clients, but they are not also putting out content to social media. They're not running into, you know, it's like they really just like have created this self-sustaining business that they get referrals. You know, if they ever have a client drop off, they can easily get another one. So they don't have to spend time marketing and kind of doing the other stuff. Whereas it's like, for me, it was like, well, shoot, I'm not only running 1 Instagram, but 2 Instagrams, putting out content daily to these things. I'm trying to keep up with these people. And I was like, y'all, I love you, but I must go for the sake of my everything health, right? But yeah, I would say, again, if you've put in the time, if you put in the money to really know your stuff, I think that's a very attainable goal for coaches, is you could again, easily with air quotes, get to a place where you're making 6 figures or more.
Were you there when you and Bryan, were you there with your nutritional coaching clients when you and Bryan decided to link up?
Yeah, so I think if I dial back, it was like, because at that time too, I was just also in a different tier, because it's like I was on Barbell Shrugged and all these big name podcasts, and so it was like, I've always had the issue where it was like, I've always just put out free content because I just want to help people, right? It's like, hey, if I can't work with you, I want to give you, the things to be successful, even if we can't do the thing one-on-one. So it's like, I've always been, solving people's problems for free and never asking anything in return. So I always had the thing where it was like, people wanted to work with me and I couldn't work with them. So, it was all my friends actually were able to start nutrition coaching businesses. They'd be like, hey, I can't help you, but like, go work with my best friend. Go do this thing. But I want to say, like, towards the tail end of things, my coaching rates were like $300, $350 a month. Okay. There's definitely too, it's like, it's a gentle balance, because it's like, at what point also, like, if you're charging $500 a month, I hope you're also giving them workouts, and like, sure. I hope you're wiping their ass.
Yeah.
It's like,
it's got to be a robust service. So, in getting on things like Barbell Shrugged and all that, and again, there's a period where Barbell Shrugged was a little more underground than it was now, but like, you being on that and then having this successful nutrition coaching gig, did all that, like, Bledsoe and those guys finding you, is that just from your time spent in CrossFit and like being in that ecosystem?
It was, so Jason Phillips, who runs the Nutritional Coaching Institute, present day, it's basically a really awesome nutrition certification course. It's who I used to work for, used to, help teach it. Again, it's like, if you're somebody that you want to learn more about nutrition coaching,
and that kind of got you plugged in then?
But yeah, it was just like, I think, again, it's like, you just talk about somebody that stands out a little, is it's like, you have this little fireball that's,
sure.
just different. Tattoos, a kind of fun backstory and all this stuff. And so I think I kind of just got on their radar. And truly, it's like, they are such awesome people too. First of all, like, love Doug Larson, love Anders. Everybody with them is just, awesome. And so that was just one of those things that it was like such a big trajectory at the time. Like, I think I remember I had like 6,000 followers, went on the podcast, like hit 10K within a week. So it was just like this really awesome springboard into all of these things. And so ironically, it's like Bryan was also there that same weekend that I got interviewed, like he got interviewed. We didn't meet at that time or anything like that. But again, you just talk about like things are orbiting and then they finally come together. So the same thing, it was like he was doing something similar, had, all these clients that, at the end of the day, programming kind of falls into, let's say, 5 to 6 categories of, it's like, hey, I just want to look good, or hey, I really love Olympic lifting, or hey, I love combining cardio and lifting, or, so it was like with his clients, it was like still one-on-one programming, but at the end of the day, it's like you're still going to have some of the same core components for stuff. And so we had gotten really close. I visited him in person. So when I met Bryan the first time in person, his oldest son was 6 months old, and it was actually really awesome, because it's like every few months I would see him and be like, holy shit, Bryson's getting huge. But yeah, it was like from day one, we just like happened to connect. We got to hang out in person and got really close. And then, same thing. It's like, again, when you kind of realize, oh shit, like I think we should I think we're on to something. Should we do something?
Should we combine forces? Because he obviously has the programming nerdiness behind that. You have the nutrition thing. You have obviously the I can light up a room personality, and I have a certain look that is Instagram. Like, again, it stops a thumb scroll. So I'm just thinking about, like, from Bryan's perspective, who I've never met, but it's like, if I'm Bryan, I'm like, okay, my coaching, maybe, I don't know, maybe my coaching for programming is just as successful as Laurie's, nutrition thing right now, but we're both just kind of like, here, could we, do something together? Is that essentially how that went?
Yeah, and think about this too, right? So the one downfall of one-on-one coaching is that you're limited to how many people you can help, and therefore how many lives you can change. And so it's like, there's also a talk at some point where it's like, dude, again, like, if we know we have this thing, why wouldn't we want to share it with as many people as possible? Like, wouldn't it be selfish to just keep this, in our ecosystem? But the thing is too, it's like, we were both seeing it in our respective day-to-day job spaces, where it's like, again, nutrition clients would be like, hey, well, I hear you that you love this way of exercising. I really want to help you reach your goals, but like I can help fix all the nutrition stuff where you're still burning down the bridge with exercise. Like we need the two to go together.
Sure.
And so, same thing. I'd be like, hey, I think you should follow these programs from Bryan. Like you should go check it out. And then same thing, it's like, well, with Bryan, again, he was saying the same avatar of just like, okay, like I'm doing the most in the gym. I'm working out 6 or 7 days a week. Like I'm not eating food. I'm burning my wheels on XYZ. And so we were both just seeing it with clients, left and right. And so it was just, like I said, like kind of this obvious no-brainer of like, literally, what's the worst that could happen? Like if we just put this out in a bulk format, like how do we just, and again, our business didn't cost anything to start.
Sure.
Like for sure, yeah, you gotta, file an LLC. Yeah, you gotta do X, Y, Z. But it's like it wasn't like we said like, oh, hey, let's open a gym. We need millions of dollars and it's like that's the beautiful part of online anything is that the overhead cost is like 1% of any money that you're bringing.
Logistically, if someone's listening to this, they might be like, okay. Laurie's got X amount of clients. She's making that money. That's Laurie money. Bryan's got X amount of clients. He's making money. That's Bryan money. When you guys decided to combine, were you like, hey, we're going to create a combined service where both things are intertwined, but we each have our own money. So are we going to throw both of our clients' monies now into this pool and split it? Or you keep what you're making on those clients, I'll keep. And then anyone who comes to our new pipeline of Paragon or this new company, that's what we're splitting based on our percentages.
Yep. So, and I mean, again, we were literally just offering workouts. And back in 2017, 2018 too, it's like, it's so much different than present day where like everybody has this online program or online thing. It's like, well, back in 2017, it was like, well, there was Marcus Filly in functional bodybuilding. There was Ryan Fisher and his Chalk Online. There was street parking. And that was it, right? And so same thing, it was like, even when you looked at those respective parties, they had a very specific demographic or a very specific niche. But again, it's just like, it wasn't any of the things we, thought were important or wanted or needed or whatever. And so same thing, it's like, well, when you look around and you do, it's like, sometimes it is awesome. It doesn't matter if the market's saturated, go fucking do it. Like if you're good enough, literally no one is stopping you. But reversely, it's like, it was like we were looking and we're like, there's this big gap, let's go fucking fill it.
And what is that? So someone's like, what is the niche for Paragon Training Methods? Who is that? And I did that video on the WTF Gym Talk show where I talked about you guys, functional bodybuilding and street parking. And for your specifically, when you guys thought about that lane, was it like broken CrossFitters or functional fitness junkies who are now recovering and want something else to get them high? Like how did you think about your niche?
I love that. So when we very, very first started, and again, it's like people pick up and want to be about whatever you're about, right? So it's like whatever you're going through is probably what you're talking about a lot. And that becomes relatable and that becomes, something that people can connect with. And so it's like for me, I was just on this journey of like, dear God, I just need to get my house in order, right? Like I just need to get my hormones in line. Like I need to get my stress in check. Like I just want to like, do all these things. And so sharing about all those struggles, well, yeah, people were suddenly down for that journey and ride. And so when we started, it's like present day, we have 8 or 9 different programs going at any given time because it's like we've done such a good job of, hey, if ultimately you love getting in bed with your Peloton bike, great. Let me give you some workouts to go along with that to complement it and make it awesome and help you get from A to B and where you go. It's like, I don't care what your fitness goal is. I want to help you get there. And so it's like when we started, well, we actually only had one program. And so that was our OG Paragon program. And so it was basically, kind of our take, understanding that, again, so many people are never going to compete at the highest level. So how do we give people equal parts what they love doing? So kipping gymnastics, Olympic weightlifting, barbell complexes, with equal parts the things that we know most people need of, again, well, hey, let's monitor our volume and hey, let's actually have progressive overload. Like you can be doing CrossFit, but programming, again, you made an analogy about how like CrossFit is kind of like pizza these days versus, and so it's like, well, you can be following CrossFit, but I've been in a lot of CrossFit gyms. I can tell you that not all gyms are created equal. And, I've been to gyms and I've been a member where the workouts are just, a shit sandwich of 20 items of like.
So you guys were doing, it was the first program was if someone looked at it just blankly, they would just say, oh, it just looks like really well organized, periodized CrossFit. Like it just like it's the similar movements, maybe some more isolation stuff, but by and large, a CrossFitter could look at that and go, oh, that's friendly. I know that.
I would say, and again, it's like things change. I would say that our original program was like if CrossFit and bodybuilding had a baby.
Got it.
And we marketed that where it was just like, hey, if you love CrossFit, but you're just feeling really, you're tired of feeling beat down, you're tired of feeling burnout, this is same but different. This is our take on what we wish programming looked like for, again, the person that just wants the best of all worlds. I want to have fun. I want to look good. I want to feel good. Great.
From a marketing perspective, did you use that phrase bodybuilding a lot? Because like that's the one reason, like for you, especially you have such a high, and I don't know if it was like that in the beginning too, but you have a very high female demographic at Paragon. It significantly outweighs the males. And I generally feel like the word bodybuilding is that phrase that typically a female hears. And just from a brand perspective, because bodybuilding does have a brand, it is not for me. But that's why I think like Marcus.
I want to pause for a second. So like I was that person though that's like, if you talked to me in 2014, 15, when I was deep in the Kool-Aid of CrossFit, it was like, fuck bodybuilding.
Sure,
Like that shit's so, again, it's
bicep
like,
curls aren't functional, the whole deal. Talk shit on it.
Point?
Yeah.
Shit all over it. I think, again, it's like education. And that's what we do as a company is education. It's like, ultimately, if you follow our workouts, God, hell yeah, we love that. We can't wait to change your life. But even if you're not going to follow our shit, please listen to what we're saying about nutrition and fitness and go apply it to whatever you're like. Do it, right? Like I put out free content daily because there shouldn't be a barrier of entry to people just loving their body and feeling good in their skin. So yeah, it's like when we started this, and I say this still truly, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. It's like after a while, you throw enough paint at the wall that you figure it out. So we do a lot of just education about, what we provide and stuff like that. But it's like originally, I don't think we necessarily used a lot of like, oh yeah, we're bodybuilding or this and that. It was just like, yeah, hey, this is like a more sustainable way to train, if you love CrossFit, but like, it was just how we started and do things very different, now perhaps in present day.
It's so interesting on language. Like that's one of the reasons I think, Marcus, like using the word bodybuilding so heavily, like literally in the name, was something that was still, even then when he started, was a risky thing to do, because this population of customers that you guys are all pulling from are all educated, functional fitness, let's call it CrossFit based customers, and you use a word like bodybuilding and that just instantly is just going to like whatever. But then simultaneously, if you do it right, you could draw people in and make them rethink how they feel about the word. You can change the paradigm according to that.
And so I think because, again, Marcus was already a little bit ahead of us, he was kind of probably that intermediate.
He's first through the door taking the bullets, and then just like, and Sean Pastuch uses that example. There are guys like, for him it was Kelly Starrett, came through the door first, took the fucking bullets, so that guys like Sean and Ryan DeBell, the Movement Fix, and Ben Patter, whoever else could come through afterwards. Now he who takes all the bullets, if they do it well, still gets all the fucking glory, but the guys coming behind, it's so interesting to hear you say that, and that's why, again, it's why I've always fucked with you, because everyone's got someone who did something in front of them, and you've always been dope and gave the nod and the respect. It's always been like that kind of conversation, and which I always love, because it's easy to show up on the scene and be like, I'm awesome, and I fucking myself and I did this. I do this so different than everyone else, and you've never had that attitude.
Oh, well, and I think the thing is too, it's like I said, it's like social media got to grow up with me. They also got to watch me just figure things out, business-wise. And so I've just always been that person that, again, it's like the number one question I always want to ask somebody when I meet them is like, yo, how can I help you? Like, I don't ever do anything from a place of expecting things in return. I think that's a really gross way to live, but that's just always been my MO, and just something, again, just naturally embedded in me is it's like, when I would meet people over the years, whether it was CrossFit coaching, it's like I just had so many opportunities because I was just, always so eager to help and also just learn, right? It's like, again, I tell people, it's like, when you go to school for nutrition, like one of my classes was literally like, you would learn how to make art with food. Like we might come in and be like, apple, paring knife, hey, make this bird, right? So it's like, there's so much stuff with business that's like, I never had that formal education in business. I never had it. But what I've always been really good about is accepting that I don't know everything, and you can learn a lot from other people by shutting up and just paying attention, right? So it's like paying attention to what other people were doing. Or, even when we initially launched our company, we chose the app we chose because everybody else was using it. It was like Street Bargain was using Modify, Ryan Fisher was using Modify. We tried all the other options, we tried all the other things, but ultimately it was like equal parts. We didn't really like those. They were doing it, so, well, it's kind of also marketing to be like, oh, hey, well, we also use this thing, right? So even still to this day, it's like once a month, I'm going to go check up on, just people that, offer similar services, or, oh, what are other people doing? Or what is that experience like when you sign up? Or what is that user experience like? What are you getting for that price tag? Like I love nerding out over that stuff because, again, it's like ultimately a really good business is going to be, well, take the shit that you love or that works, but then make it your own. Like, what can you, other people already learn things the hard way, figured it out. Well, cool. How can you take that, make it your own? And again, it's like, there's some things that other companies do. Like, you will never catch me on YouTube doing a workout every day for people. I think that's fucking awesome that, there's so many people that do that. I'm probably never going to be like an on-demand. Again, when do I have time for that, right? Like, it's not happening. But that's always been something, it's like, pay attention to what your competitors are doing. And again, you don't have to, don't copy them, but, if there's things that you like or there's certain components you like, cool, again, great artist steal.
In the gym space, we don't even have, like, really, in the micro gym boutique space, we don't have 50 years of data, right? The boutique thing in the fitness industry really popped and started with, like, Curves back in the day, which was like the fastest growing fitness franchise. It imploded, and we are where we are today. But the online thing is even younger. The online fitness thing is even younger. So I look at, like, I'm always thinking, like, okay, if I'm Laurie or I'm Marcus Philly, like, who am I looking at who's been around the longest and how has that evolved? And I look at brands like, I look at, like, what Kelly did, putting out free videos every day, right? And then that turned into, slash seminars, and then that turned into products. And now it's, he rebranded away from CrossFit, obviously, and the mobility WOD, but now it's education. Plus what is the evolution? Because online fitness for your company is the same. The programs go out. So what is the thing that a company like yours want? We just need to get more customers, and eventually we'll transcribe all the videos to Spanish so we can tap into these markets, and like just more customers, maybe an elevated price point. Or we're also going to be now offering high ticket. We're going to be offering FaceTime with Laurie once a month, or we're going to start training people in Paragon, or we're going to offer affiliates in case someone wants to open a Paragon training gym. Like, where does it go from onliners? Like, no, we're just going to do online programming. We're going to amass as many customers as we possibly can. We'll figure out our exit plan later on down the road.
Yeah, I think, first of all, there's so much to be said for doing something incredibly well, right? And so it's like, understanding that the more things you try to do, the less good you're going to do all of them. So I think always, just continuing to double down on, well, ultimately, if this thing is awesome, pour your love into that. The interesting thing is, it's like when you look back on 2017, 2018, again, because fitness and online companies, that was such a new thing. It's like most people, again, were doing it in person. They were doing it in gyms. Very few people, again, there were like 3 apps. Like, I think like True Coach, we didn't end up using because you just couldn't use it in a mass format. Like, it was clean, but it just didn't quite fit the bill for, going wide and having a lot of people. And it would have been like, it was the fees specifically where it was like the overhead would have been insane. Same thing, I think there was SugarWOD, there was Wodify, and then basically True Coach, and like that was the 3. And then, well, now it's like, well, pick your fancy. Like, there's Playbook, there's some people, do online membership websites. There's Train Heroic, but there's just so many more apps out there to choose from. And so, 2017, 2018, it was like, hey, we provide workouts. Like, over time, we've raised our prices because now you get more things and more of that and all the things. But it's like, we're currently in a building year for Paragon right now because it's like, when you're the first, well, you could have something that's pretty shitty, but again, there weren't many people in the space, so it was whatever. Well, now, especially after pandemic times, well, everybody was forced to go online. So many people stayed online. They never went back to in person because, again, they realized, well, shit, if I can write emails in my underwear, like why would I go give up hours of the day? Like I can service 50 people rather than, 10 people or whatever it is. So it's like, we were already here when other people were getting started. Pandemic, everybody bumped up again. So it's like, again, we have to continue doing things to elevate ourselves above other people. And so one of the biggest things we're looking at right now is, again, it's just like, Wodify was great when we started, but it's not serving us anymore. There are other options out there, but our snare was always kind of this catch-22 of it's like, well, yeah, we want to switch to this app, but, what are the cons for it? And so the biggest issue is you didn't used to just be able to hop to an app without risking losing customers. You were having to ask for a credit card again. Hey, yeah, we have this really awesome thing, you should switch. But ultimately, people suddenly have an out on having to represent the card. Or they
just forget or whatever.
How many people have probably never opened the app in 10 months, but it's such a low charge that, again, it's like Netflix. It's just happening in the background. But it was like, if you project that, okay, well, if you have to present an opportunity to take somebody's money again, well, what if you lost 40% of your people? And I think that's a pretty reasonable, again, we always want to think worst case scenario, but are you willing to jump apps, even if it provides better customer service, even if it does XYZ, even if it cleans your bathroom for you, if your income suddenly slides in half? Like that's a massive deal.
We call those the sleepy bears. Yeah. So gym owners, when we're doing price raises, they're like, so am I sending this price raise email to everybody? And I'm like, well, yeah. They're like, but I'm like, yeah, I know. There's fucking 28 people who haven't been in 3 months. And the second they get this email, it's going to be like, oh, I've been meaning to cancel that, right? So that's interesting. So, okay, with you.
But to pause real quick. So like now 22 is awesome. Like you can now just, back in your Stripe into other apps. Like you really could.
Stripe changed everything for that.
There would be a lot of pieces, but ultimately if I wanted to choose violence tomorrow, I could take our shit. We could be in a new app tomorrow and see you later, Wodify. Yeah. So it's like, that's something we've been exploring. It's just like, again, like that is a big business shift. And so you have to weigh all the pros and cons. And so it's like right now we're just kind of in the testing phase of like, okay, love these features. This is really sick. I love that you can do this. But again, does that outweigh a couple of things that, again, the biggest thing too is it's like the app we're looking into has a cancel button. So literally you could wake up today and be like, fuck Paragon.
Yeah.
And leave. Versus, well, now, it's like, well, you have to email us. We have an opportunity to create a custom solution. Oh, shit, money's tight. Hey, well, what if we set your account on hold for 30 days? Hey, actually, you know what? What if we dropped your rate down? It's like we can create a solution. We can help problem solve. And, that retention difference is massive, right? Yeah. Versus, like, that's one thing we're having to look at right now. And at the end of the day, it's like, I'm always going to do right by the customer. Like that's always been our rising star is like, how do we take care of our people? And at the end of the day, that's what's most important. And hey, if it costs me money, if we make less money, great, don't care. Because again, how do we do right by them? And so we're in this fun process of, kind of figuring all that out. But it's something I'm very excited about because like I said, we're just in a building season where it's like, we grew so fast during the pandemic. There were so many people that here shutdown happened and you're seeing, hey, just do these home workouts of like 1,000 burpees and jumping squats. And, like everybody did that for a week and then was like, yo, but for real, I'm used to ripping 300-pound deadlifts. Yo, like I want to cut and have a six-pack. Like how am I achieving my goals? Because this ain't it. And, so we were one of the few companies, again, it was like, oh, like Bryan pulled rabbits out of a hat and he figured out, hey, we can still do progressive overload even if we only have 2 to 3 pairs of dumbbells. How gangster is that, right? And it's like, same thing. It was like during the pandemic, though, we actually, this is one of my favorite things we've ever done. Again, it was just like, okay. It's a week of shutdown. Everybody's at home freaking the fuck out. What can we do right now to help people? How can we share our gifts? Oh, well, why don't we just make a free download? Let's get like a month worth. Let's and again, who knew that, we were going to get years out of the pandemic. But we put together basically a month of workouts. I put into an ebook and we just put it up for free. Hey, drop your email, get this thing. Yep. And it was like, it had like 12,000 downloads. And at the time, like, again, my account wasn't huge. But again, it's like, I didn't realize it at the time, but that gave how many people did we suddenly get on the radar? Because same thing, it's like, yo, I just found this free thing. The workouts are so fun. You should, like word of mouth. Hello. So it's just like during the pandemic, we grew because again, we just kept asking, what do you need? And then we'd create a solution and then we'd do it again and we would do it again. I tell people it's like, one of my superpowers is the ability to just grind. And I love it again, right? Like some people don't love working. Some people want to do the least. I've never been that person. I love, I love working. I love grinding. And so, it's like I've never worked as hard as we did during the pandemic because again, it's like more people, more problems. We suddenly realized holes or, there were so many things that, we had to shift around in our business and we figured it out along the way. But, again, it's like we grew so fast and we suddenly, here we are at, a couple thousand members. Okay, we need to press pause. Yeah, it would be awesome to get more people and help more people, but we're not in the position to actually serve them. Like what comes to mind is it'd be like if you went on the Joe Rogan podcast, you're selling insert the blank. Well, can you handle if, 10,000 people suddenly showed up to say it?
Yeah, do you have the infrastructure for that?
So it's like that's where we're at this year is just like, okay, let's get some legs under, let's get some support rather than feeling like, holy shit, this thing might all come crashing to the ground tomorrow.
The thing I'd recommend to anyone, and I'm assuming you would concur with me on this, and because I have a lot of people like, hey, I want to do something online. What platform, what product, what should I'm like? No matter what, I don't care. I don't know what the answer is. What I do know is that you need to be able to have full access to your Stripe API, meaning it is your Stripe account associated with it. That way, if you ever switch apps, you're just taking the Stripe account with you. Don't use their Stripe API, like their version, like have your own so that you can move that around. Because that's not how it was. Like every software company would fucking ransom and hold your fucking credit card information. But now with Stripe, it's the playing field is completely neutral. Yeah. Am I right on this? Like, would you agree?
To my understanding, because like I said, it's like that was our biggest holdup, and that's what kept us landlocked. Because it's like again, some other people went to membership website, and again, it's just like everything has its pros and cons. So you just have to figure out what's ultimately really, really important to you and what do you value. But yeah, it's like moves like that are not moves you're going to do or want to do multiple times. Yeah. And so it's like, again, it's like, well, duh, like if you could have told me way back in the day, like, by the way, like this thing you're doing, they're not going to be continuing to, it's like everybody else in the app space is continuing to like do the most. And they're just like, hey, can we do the least? Like,
sure.
Again, nobody wants that. But again, it's like, it's not as simple when it's also like, well, okay, so we got to take this gamble. I'm going to roll the dice, but we might, if we have 3,000 members, we might be back to 1,500. And then, the business might, like, that is also a very real thing. So it's like whatever interface you choose, just know you're going to be in bed with it for a long time. Here we've logged, I think, 3.5 years, give or take. But I think also it's like my bigger message would just be, get started. Like, don't worry about it being perfect. Like, try to do it to the best of your ability. But it's like, even when I used to nutrition coach, right? It's like, I did all that shit in like Google Sheets for free.
Sure.
Like I wasn't there. Like, again, these big interfaces and awesome platforms, they didn't exist back then. I was free 99 over on Google Sheets. But like now, again, if you're going to step into nutrition coaching, it's like, it's not enough to be 2016 nutrition coaching of, oh, I'm gonna just send you an email, great, cool. It's like, again, especially after a pandemic when people started getting premium, better services, good luck nutrition coaching if you aren't Zoom calling or, again, dropping audio messages.
The expectations are much higher.
So same thing, it's like I think actually way back in the day, Bryan actually used to do his one-on-one programming via Facebook. So he would just create a Facebook group between you and him.
Oh, wow.
He would drop in the workouts. And, it's like we laugh about it, but it actually, even still, it didn't suck. No. Like, it was actually very easy.
You can upload videos, you can upload photos. Yeah, that's actually really...
this section sucked. Don't ever do this. Boop. Yeah. So it's like, there's also sometimes magic in just keeping it simple. And keeping it easy.
So let's go ahead and talk today's numbers. So Paragon has now, bring me up to evolution. So you launched Paragon in year 1, year 3. How many years in are we now?
So now I'm like, what month is it? So we launched, it was Black Friday of 2018 was our official launch date.
So you guys 5 years?
We're creeping up on the 4.
On the 4 mark.
Yeah, so this fall will be 4. So
give me the evolution of customers, of numbers of customers from when we launched, and within a week we were like, oh fuck, we got something, or like it was crickets for a week. Like walk me through the evolution to where we are today.
What's funny is I just was there was a reel from somebody that does like business coaching, and he was answering like a Q&A question. And it was like, when is the best time to become an entrepreneur? And so he was talking about like, the best time to become an entrepreneur on social media was 5 to 6 years ago. Like you could literally do whatever, drop a link and be like, link in bio, swipe up. And I mean, people will buy it, right? Versus now, again, it's like the market has just become so saturated, or because of algorithms and because of TikTok and just all these weird, it's like it used to be so, like you basically climbed Mount Everest to get 10K followers. You're like, fuck yeah, I did it.
Yeah.
Now it's like, well, somebody posts a video and they can have 100,000 followers and, so it's like present day, there's just so much noise out there and there's so much stuff grabbing, other people's attention. But, kind of back to your question with Dr. Sean Pastuch, we filmed stuff with him, and I know this specifically, it was right about 6 months of Paragon launching, because, he was like, oh yeah, so like you're doing that thing. And he was like, how's it going? And I was like, I don't know what we're doing, but we have 600 members in 6 months, because it was like we were gaining about 100 people a month. Understanding that too, you're having drop off, but it's like we were still doing this, right? So at the end of the day, it was 100, 200, 300. And so that was, like I said, right about the time where it was like, okay, your girl's max capacity. Like I can't do this nutrition coaching thing. I'm very similar, it's like, neither Bryan or myself had a point where it was like we just like cut ties to what we're doing, and like it was like same thing. He like wrote it out, and then he just stopped kind of taking on clients. And as people fall off, and at some point I think he finally said like, okay, I got to go now.
He stopped going. What you're saying is he stopped doing one-to-one so that he could focus on Paragon, which is one-to-many. So he's like, I'm not taking on anyone else. And as they cancel, which every client does on a long enough timeline, that's what freedom.
Yeah. So it's like, so we're having this increasing income at the same time that, well, we're letting off people accordingly. So it actually worked out, there wasn't ever that like, oh shit. Like,
but it's nice having that side. You guys each had your own little side income, because without that, you guys have which is, I always say for gym owners, the best gym owner possible, be a part-time owner, meaning have a full-time job that pays you. Open up the gym part-time. So you have to hire people from day one, but it allows you don't have to pull money out of the business on day one.
Correct.
And that allows it to grow.
Yeah, and that happened for me with like nutrition coaching too, right? Like when I was working for a nutrition coaching company, I remember being like, okay, I think I want to leave. I want to do this thing. How much money do I need to pay my bill? Like nobody wants to be stressing about money while you're also trying to like pray this thing works, right? So, as a business, but at the end of the day, if we really zoom out, it was like, at the end of year 1, we hit 1,000 members. At the end of year 2, we had grown by an additional 1,500, so we were at about 2,500 members. And then year 3, it just like, even we would go through some weird turns, especially with the pandemic. Like I remember the specific week of shutdown, it was like we had like it was like Wednesday when things closed down, and then like that Sunday it was like we had like 350 emails being like, yo, I'm out, I just lost my job, like whatever, which God bless that, right? It's like you cry and freak out, and that's like, let's get our hands dirty and let's go. Like, all right.
They lost their job, but gyms are also closing. This is ultimately a much better playground for us right now.
Mm-hmm. And so, like I said, it's like it's interesting how that grows you as a person. Where it's like, okay, again, it's like we had so many people that it was like, they had access to our membership, our online community. Because the biggest thing we kept thinking about, right, is it's like, if you are living hell on earth, if you just lost your job, if all this scary shit's happening in your life, the worst thing that could also possibly happen is that you lose your community, you lose your support system, you lose, this ability to just, again, like take care of yourself and feel your best. And so the number of people that, again, it was like every single person truly had a custom, unique situation created for them, where it was like, hey, don't worry about your membership for 3 months. Like, just do what you got to do. Hey, when you're able to pay us again, or if you're able to pay us something, holler, right?
So you guys let people retain service?
Yeah.
Okay.
100. Like I said, truly like 100%.
Did you set like a hard date on that? Like, hey, 90 days or whatever.
I mean, again, it's like just take care of people,
Sure.
right? And every single person, it looked different. And we had so many, again, like our members are just so amazing where it was like when people started finding out that we were just letting people stay on for free, do you know how many of our members were like, listen, I make great money. Hey, I want to sponsor a membership put me down for 3 months, charge my card right now. I remember there were so many times that we were just like crying about it because it was like, dude, like our people are so awesome and they're just so about this thing. So truly it was like all the worlds of like, holy shit, like I could never live through that again because again, like it was so stressful. But at the end of the day, it's like, I'm just so proud also that, we can look back on this 10 years from now and be like, hey, do you remember when we successfully scaled a business and we created solutions for people when they needed it the most?
Correct.
Holy shit.
And I need everyone to understand the numbers on this because I go through this with Microgym University because that's my version of what you have with Paragon, all right? That is my one-to-many solution. It does not cost you any money to have a user access the online material. $0.
That's why we do free giveaways all the time for memberships. It costs zero.
It costs $0. And in this scenario where someone's like, yeah, but you should always be charging what you're worth and never give your shit away. I'm like, that rules in a in-person service world. I'm all about that. I never want to see you discount personal training because that's an hour and there's only 24 in a day and so on and so forth. But once you've created the one-to-many product, it does not cost any money. So you tell Sally, hey, Sally, listen, you cannot afford Microgym University or Paragon Training Methods anymore right now. That's fine. We're going to sponsor you for right now. No big fucking deal. Her being able to access that and then maybe, and it's not even guaranteed, it's probably less than 10%, take the screenshot and be like, this company is so fucking cool. I couldn't afford and they're still allowing me to do it. It's all goodwill. Like literally, unless your platform, and I don't know of any that charges you based on the amount of people that are accessing it's not like Train Heroic or Wodify are going to charge you based on the amount of people who are accessing it, or are they only charging you based on the people that you're actually charging and pulling dollars from?
I think that's where like True Coach might be a different story because again, it's like, I think it's like $10 per, it's a decent chunk.
Okay.
But something.
You are being charged per who's on the platform with access?
Yeah, okay. And I think Train Heroic might be the same. It truly depends on the platform, but for us, it's like we pay however much money we pay for the app. And yeah, we pay like straight fees and stuff, but even still, again, it's like, oh shit, like you genuinely have somebody that like they've always just been down for the ride and, telling all their friends, referring all these members, and they're coming to us saying like, holy shit, like I love you guys, but I gotta go.
Yeah.
Bro, like we got you, right?
Sure.
Because again, it's just like, I've never done any of this for the money, and ironically, that's usually when the money happens, right? But it doesn't work in the reverse order. Like, for sure, like, we all have bills to pay. Like, we want to be able to live life, but it's like, there's such a different energy when you're launching products or creating services when all you care about is, oh, I want to sell this much, or I want to do this thing, versus, like, when you really just love it. And that's always been me. It's like, I've always just loved helping people so much. And it's why for years and years, I made $25, a class. It's why for so many years, it was like, at some point, obviously I was like, listen, LCK, like you guys start making money and like having savings in retirement. Like we need a plan B, right? But truly, it's like, we've never had any expectations for things. Like for sure, again, it's like, I want to see it go wide. I want to help as many people as possible. But again, it's just such a different energy when you're truly, again, just trying to help people versus, going after dollars.
And there's a great tactic so when I first launched the first version of Microgym University, I did I spent 18 months, I built out the whole course. It was $6,000 for the entire course. And you had it for a year. Guy gets in, drops 6, 48 hours later, get the email, dude, this and this happened. I can't do this. Like, I need the money back. Can I get the money back? Completely refund the money, right? Refund them, no big deal. And then I had this idea. I'm like, I wonder, maybe it's that Kevin Spacey movie where the fucking little kid dies. What's that? Pay It Forward. Haley Joel Osment, the little kid gets
the worst person to ask about movies.
Whatever the Kevin Spacey movie is where the kid dies, and it's Pay It Forward, I think. And I'm like, let's see if I want to run this social experiment on this one of one, this one guy. So we just sent an email, and I made it look like a blanket email, like it went to everyone, but it didn't. It just went to him. It said, hey, if you're getting this email, you're got to comp, because we comped as MG. We let them keep access after we refunded the money. You know, you've got to comp whatever. If you're ever interested in paying it forward, click this button. You'll be able to put in your payment information and the name of someone that you want to also receive if you ever feel like paying it forward. It was like 4 months later. I'd forgotten because we did this one of one. I never saw anything through. I was like, oh, okay, fair enough. He did, you know, he's not in position to pay it forward. 4 months later, he bought another gym owner that he's buddies with another state, an entire $6,000. Like, and it was just like, damn, that's like, I mean, I didn't hit him with the email twice. I hit him with it once. And it, like, what, did he save it? I'm walking my brain through this. I'm like, okay, did he make it as unread? Did he set himself a reminder? Like, I never reminded of them. Like, how did that happen? It just, I truly believe
he probably clicked it and made it unread. That's something I would do where it's like, oh, I'm just.
But I'm gonna do that later. Yeah, but I truly believe most people are not pieces of shit. For the most, I like to go in every scenario. You're not a piece of shit until you prove me otherwise wrong, and that if you give people the right opportunity, you take care of them, they'll take care of you. But I don't expect. Just like you said earlier, you cannot.
You can't and you shouldn't.
No, because then now it's like if he doesn't do it, I dislike him. And I'm like, no, I made the decision. I'm a big boy. I said, no, that's you. That's on you, man. I'm buying you that coffee, all right? I'm not expecting for him to give it back to me, right? It's just giving without expectation. Now, so you're at 3,000. Where are you at today? We're sitting here, whatever, Sunday the 24th of July in 2022.
So we've been basically maintaining let's see, we're about to go into August. So we've basically been maintaining this year for the most part. So it's like we've been hovering right around 3,600. Okay. Again, sometimes that'll tip up, but it's kind of like, that's kind of like our bubble is right around 35, 36, sometimes 37.
And your price point is right around, is that 49, 60,
yeah.
49?
So,
okay.
So when we initially started, we actually had all separate programs. So it used to just be, you know, it's like, again, we launched, we only had one program, and then we started hearing, well, hey, I love, like, this program's awesome, but I'm a busy mom. I only got 30, 40 minutes. Hey, you know, so it was like we launched programs according to how much equipment, time frames,
Is there
goals.
anyone that just has one program? I feel like if you're in what you guys do, like you have to have a diversity of programs.
You have to though, right? So it's like, if you think about it, again, like I said, you're always going to have kind of those generic, you know, you're going to funnel into one of these populations where it's like, you know, in 2022, you're either working out at a gym or you're working out at home. Great. Dumbbell only at home. Gym. So then also the gym is two-part where it's like, well, you in a CrossFit gym, you in a home gym, or you in like a commercial gym with like machines and cables. But same thing, right? It's like, well, how much time do you want to spend? What are you trying to accomplish? What are we doing? So yeah, it's like I said, you know, it's like we'll do specialty programs and stuff like that, you know, as well. But it's like we never intended or wanted 8 programs. I miss the days when it was like, hey, we have these 3 things that made it really easy. And that's one thing we will look at when we go to switch apps is kind of this idea of bundling, where again, you know, it might be really overwhelming if you open an app to be like, well, shit, which one do I pick?
Follow? Yeah,
versus
paralysis
like,
by analysis.
If you're like, again, hey, you working out from home? Great, here's the bundle. There's 3 different ones. Okay, now it's much simpler. You want to spend 30 minutes, you love doing cardio and lifting, or you just want to lift, bodybuild, care about physique. So it's like, when we started though, you used to just subscribe to one program. Okay. So it was like, you know, our prices were basically like 24 to 35. Well, if you're only working out half the time, why would we charge you $35? Like if you're doing 30-minute workouts, great, $24. And then, you know, 35. And we were still a little bit higher. You know, it's like other people in this space were maybe more that like 20, 25 range. But it was like at the end of the day, you can go in our Facebook group. You can post a video from your squat set, and you could have a response back from Bryan or I before you go do your next set in 5 minutes. What? Ain't nobody else doing that I've seen. You know, it's like
which is insane considering 2 people for 3,500 people. Like that is like when I think about like scalability, I'm like that's stretching it probably as thin as you possibly can while still giving that like. You
would be like I said. So you know, it's like that, the thing is though, it's like. Again, you know, it's like just paying attention to what other people and do. You know, it's like it wouldn't serve me to lift for an hour and then later be like, hey, can somebody look at my squat? Like, I want to know before I go fucking waste more time, you know, fucking up this thing, right? So it's like, it kind of happened by accident. And thankfully, again, you know, because the company kind of grew so quickly, especially during the pandemic, I had all these nutrition coaching friends that I had helped, and, you know, it always been a source of referral where it's like, yep, nope, still not doing one-on-one coaching, go, you know, hang out with my friends. So I had all these people where it was like, oh, like we're getting, you know, we're having a lot of questions about nutrition and mindset or body image or, you know, this, that, and whatever. Well, why don't we get some coaches in our Facebook group to also just help? And so the thing is now, right, it's like we still have a small team. We basically have 4 coaches. Our Facebook admin, it's like she has been life-changing for our business. We found her probably, I think a year and a half ago, give or take, but it's like she is just like thebomb.com and absolutely incredible in more ways than I can express. And so, you know, when you post in the Facebook group, it's kind of like, hey, if you're posting a form check video, tag this person. Hey, nutrition or mindset, body, you know, tag these people. So it's like then that helps navigate it because it's like Bryan and I still go through and touch on every post. But again, you know, it's like, it's something that we probably don't talk about enough because we haven't figured out how to actually show how awesome that is. But again, it's not like you're getting little one-sentence response. You know, it's like people are writing, hey, I've got a wedding, you know, in 3 months' time. I'm thinking about doing this with my nutrition. Here's my goals, you know, whatever. And like to have multiple coaches that, again, charge $200, $300 a month per client, pop in there and they're giving responses this long. Like again, it's like, all my nutrition coaching friends, I helped them build their business and helped them because they were just like me of, God, I just love helping people. And, you know, so again, it's a different energy of like, oh, well, for sure. It's like, I get paid to answer questions versus like, dude, hey, here, you know, here's how to go. Because again, you know, it's like not the answer is never just like, oh, just hire a coach. What privilege that would be, right? Yeah. It's like, we hope that everybody can afford, you know, amazing doctors and testing and nutrition coaching and custom programming and this and that. Like, hello, like that's not real life, right? And so it's like, yeah, with our Facebook group, though, it's like, even if, you know, a couple hundred posts come through each day, it's like you're getting responses from us. That's like something that takes up a big part of my day. But I also don't want it to not take up part of my day.
Yeah, it's part of the service.
It's part of the service.
Now, that's interesting. So you talk about the Facebook group. And so for a lot of gyms, they'll have a private Facebook group. Now, you know, when I went and talked with Miranda and Julian over at Street Parking, enormous Facebook group. When somebody cancels a service, you guys do or do not remove them from the group?
So we do. So basically how it works right now, and again, it'll switch, but it's like we just have a 30-day cancellation policy. Yep. So it's like you're still going to get it for 30 days. And then once you're done paying, and that is also it, though. It's like we do have people that just pay to be in the Facebook group. We have people that, you know, it's like they just really respect my philosophies, Bryan's philosophies. You know, we have so many coaches where it's like, hey, I love referring my clients to you or this and that. But, you know, it's like, again, we're just such leaders on the forefront of things versus, you know, people trying to play catch up. So it's like, again, if I was going to go launch an online business, like I said, I would be joining everybody's things. I would be looking to see what they do really, really well. And then again, you know, how can we take their spin on it? But yeah, you know,
so is that more of the keeping it closed? Because I think about it, I'm like, okay, let's say someone cancels a service. They can't get the workouts anymore. But you're not posting the workouts in the Facebook group, right? No, so, like, is there ever a thought of, like, keep them in the Facebook group and then let the FOMO develop? Because they'll see people talking about the results and the blah, blah, blah. And then at some point, they're like, all right, fuck it, I'm going to turn it back on.
So when we, like I said, it's like this new app, because of certain stipulations with it, we won't have the ability to hold memberships like we do now. So, like, let's say, you know, you're like, hey, shit, having my baby next week. Well, yeah, you're not doing shit for for a hot minute. But, you know, it's like same thing. We still want them to have that support. We're probably going to add an option where it's like, you know, say $10 a month. Sure. You can just stay in the Facebook group, you know, be part of the thing, have that. Just being surrounded by like-minded individuals. I talk about this all the time, but it's like there is a popular nutrition company that sells, you know, templated nutrition. It's like, I used to be parts of these Facebook groups. I used to follow them on Instagram and all this stuff. And it's like, the things we are known for are incredible. When you think about like, oh yeah, you know, it's like, if I dial back to that, it's like you see, it's super common in this Facebook group to see women that they don't have their period and everybody's like, oh yeah, no, totally normal, don't worry about it, you know, whatever, versus like we would, you know, if you were in our group, we'd be like, hey, so let's talk about how we probably need to reduce stress. We need to, how many rest days are you taking? How we train in? How much are we eating? We might need to eat more, gain some, it's like, it's just different energies of what you're known for in the Facebook groups. And so like to be surrounded by like-minded individuals where it's like, again, our company slogan is strong and well-fed. And, just having a safe space of, hey, if you go on our Facebook group, you're going to see ladies ripping really heavy weights. You're going to see ladies of all shapes, sizes, and everything in between, actually eating food and posting about how they're eating, 2,200, 2,400, 2,800 calories. Hey, I'm breastfeeding. I'm eating 3,000 calories a day. It's just a different energy. And so, especially if you live somewhere, again, like where I come from, where there wasn't that, right? I didn't have friends. I didn't have people that cared about nutrition and fitness and all these things I was into. To have that space, it's like, that's again, we know that street parking does community really well. So do we. It's just having that place that you can go post, hey, I'm just having a shit-ass body day, and having people actually come in and, just share their sentiments and help make it okay.
Do you ever have to regulate the inmates in the asylum? So, like, I've talked to Miranda about this. I've heard of it from gym owners. And then I have it a little bit in Micro Gym University's Facebook group. It's a public group. It's not private. It's just a public Facebook group. But I just have one rule. You can ask any question you want. Ask any question. The rule is actually if you're going to reply to somebody's question, you need to do so with a question. So again, my thing was like, hey, there's going to be a person inside the Facebook group who's going to ask a business question. I don't need any of the other people who are in there to answer their business question as if they were their business, because I'm not even everyone's business coach in there, right? This is a one-to-many platform. People just are watching these courses I created. So I was like, here's the thing, guys. Like, you just don't want it to become that fuck where everyone's kicking each other in the dick, like where they're getting into arguments in the comments and shit like that. Like, no, you should, especially when it got especially when the politics were at like an all-time high. So hey, listen, if you're going to answer, you can answer any question, but it has to be with a question, right? So it's a conversation, because they didn't ask you directly. They threw a question out to the group. Have you had to like corral back conversations, or things get a little wild in that Facebook group sometimes?
Yeah. So I think, again, it's like you live and learn. So it's like we didn't have, guardrails, if you will. And then it only takes one to start figuring it out. So it's like, we have a couple different things where it's like, again, when you're talking about nutrition, fitness, and wellness and stuff, it's like, we're so very clear about like, let's say, you're like, hey, I went to the gym today, I did X, Y, Z, now I have pain here. It's like, we're very quick, to respond like, hey, like, that's not in our scope. We're not doctors, same thing. It's like, if we're posting extensive, like, hormones or lab work, it's like, again, we're
not here to interpret your blood work.
Yeah, so it's like we're very quick to just like, we have it like on the Facebook, I forget what it is, but it's like you can make like a list of rules or reminders of like, hey, by the way, if we're posting lab work, we can't look at it. We can't diagnose you. We can't, again, if you're injured or surgery or need, it's like, so it's like, I think, again, having guardrails, but I think, again, ultimately you get out the type of energy that you put in. And so it's like with our people, back to your question of who do you kind of draw in? It's like people that love nerding out over nutrition, love nerding out over fitness, very like high level. It's not just like, hey, I'm checking the box, I go on with my day. It's like, you have to be a little bit emotionally invested in the process. You have to understand like, hey, today we're going to be lifting 3 reps from failure. Hey, you're always going to see, Bryan's incredible about just mixing it up. So it's like, if you're somebody that you just want to do the same 10 movements, like we're not that program. You're always going to be trying new stuff. You have to have that learner's mindset of like just continuing to grow and evolve there. So same thing, it's like in our Facebook group, we love doing Facebook Lives. We love putting up little, hey, what do you want? Just like you would on Instagram with a Q&A box of like, hey, whether it's new cycle times, this is, what you can expect in the next 6 weeks, 12 weeks or whatever.
What's the key to engagement? I get so many people ask, like, I've got a Facebook group for my thing. People don't engage a ton. They don't ask a lot of questions. What is your is it like they don't have, like, I don't think you need to have a good business or a good community, but if that's what you want, that's your end goal, what would you recommend?
So one thing that's kind of a sidestep, so we provide so many free resources about, nutrition. We have pregnancy and postpartum, like substitutions and modification guides. We collab with a really awesome company called the Mint Project, and like that's what they do is pregnancy and postpartum stuff. So it's like, in order to get any of the free resources, you have to be in the Facebook group. Like that's that's where the download is, right? Like you can't get it in an email. You can't, again, it's like, obviously if you are police, nurse, fire, if we can't have a Facebook group for job reasons.
Sure.
Totally. Like we'll send it to you.
So it's an access point for these docs.
It's an access point. So it's like, well, if we have 3,600 members, quite literally, it'll be like 35, 50, it's like you're always going to have people that, I don't need the Facebook group. They really are just doing the thing, or they're plugged into the community in other ways. But yeah, it's like that was one of the things we did, was just like, hey, any of the resources, any of the things you're getting, well, you got to be in the Facebook group to go get it. And if you don't do the feed, make a junk feed. It's like, I tell people this all the time. I'm like, I don't care if you don't like Facebook. Nobody has figured out how to do it better. Literally, nobody has figured it out. So sorry, So it's like, with that, kind of a sidestep, but it's truly just, again, it's like people have to be about what you're about. And if you're active in the group, well, then people are going to be active, right? Reversely, if you're never active in there, again, it's like probably every other week, we'll do the Facebook lives. Like I said, sometimes we'll just pop in there. One thing I want to start having our nutrition coaches do is just like, hey, maybe every Friday at, 10 o'clock, so-and-so is going to be in there, talk about this specific subject. So that's something, we're kind of working on. But again, it's like people know that if they post a question, they're going to get an instant response. And it's not only going to be an instant response, but a detailed response. So you already have this feedback cycle, right? Where it's like, again, at the end of the day, if you're asking super detailed, personalized questions, hey, I'm going to help you get started, but it sounds like we really need to hire somebody, to help us. Or, again, if that's not in the budget, great. Can you go purchase LCK's ebook for $50? Can you go, check out this thing, right? It's like we're never just going to say, oh, hey, go hire a coach, bye, or something like that. But at the end of the day, it's like we do regular activities also just to keep people engaged. So it's like we will do a Flex Friday post where it's just, hey, every single Friday, post your non-scale victories, post your flexing pics, like just what's something awesome that happened this week. Tell us about it. And again, it's like that happens and there's always going to be 100, 200 comments, even, same thing. It's like usually every Monday we'll do Meal Prep Monday. So it's just, hey, what are you cooking? Any recipes you want to share? And so again,
so you're like prodding. So you're creating you're putting the topic, the question, to whatever, allowing the people who want to participate. And the biggest thing you said there is like, the person who asked me the Facebook group, and I'll be honest, like the Microgym University Facebook group, I don't go live in there as often. I know maybe it's twice a week kind of scenario. It's also not a main goal of mine, but if it was a main goal of someone's, I tell them this, I'm like, how many times are you posting to just social? Like, let's say I post social twice a day. Okay, well, that's to strangers, right? Yeah. Like, that's to the whole whatever. These people have obviously selected themselves to be a part of your thing. Why aren't you posting them 4 times a fucking day? Like, shouldn't there be some preference there? I guarantee you if you were posting in that group as often as you're posting to social, with as much concern as you post to social, you would also, it'd be like a gym owner who always has open houses for brand new potential members, never does a gym social. That kind of thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, every single day I'm posting to social media. I'm posting helpful content about nutrition, fitness, whatever across, both platforms. So every single day I'm posting, cross-posting whatever Instagram post I made into the group. So I'm already posting, twice a feed there. Same thing, it's like if I scroll past a good just swipe image post or just, again, anything of like, oh, hey, Mark Carroll did a really great video about rear foot elevated split squats. I'm sharing it.
You don't have to create it. You could, it's like DJ remix it, just share it over kind of scenario. Let's go into that. Let's go into content, right? You, all of us that do this, we kind of, that phone, the cameras, they're like extensions of our body, okay? We never go into a scenario where we're not thinking, I could shoot some, or this could make for some great content. You and me are working out yesterday, and I can tell whether you're stretching, like she's stretching out of the corner of my eye, just happens to be facing me, or she's fucking taking a photo.
And I got a video.
And you got some great shit. You gotta send it to me later, by the way. I never knew that exposure setting in an iPhone. That's how fucking novice I am. Like, you literally, I'm filming this gym, Infinite Training Systems, which is just incredible. And she, like, you didn't even wait to see, you already could tell I was doing it wrong.
Potato cam level 5,000.
She fucking walked straight over. She's like, idiot, like this. And I'm like, oh, that looks so much better. Okay. As a content creator in that vein, at what point does LCK, are you less of the creator? And that's like a hat in the company world. Because Bryan is not on the Paragon Training Instagram, right? He's not the predominant force there.
We're 92% women. Yeah. So he's shredded, but if I open a video as a female, well, I want to see a female, to be honest.
Sure, 100%. So you guys have collectively made that. It's not that he makes bad content or anything like that. It's just like, that is a little bit more probably, Mel, when you guys talk about your sweet spots, your strong spots in the company, that's definitely yours. You are very aesthetically focused. From interior design, like, this entire place looks dope. Like, you're the, like, someone's like, how interior design is, like, how, like, design focused? I'm like, this chick's not only renting this condo in one of the most expensive cities in the United States for a god-awful amount, she went and upgraded all their fixtures so things were black and gold throughout the entire fucking house.
How you do anything is how you do everything.
I get it.
And again, we were talking about this off air, but it's like the love-hate with myself of, like, if I try to work with graphic designers, it's like, why the fuck would you put that pixel there? It's, designing websites, nightmare. Who makes all our infographics? It's me. And I wish that, again, it's like, I am manifesting that I find somebody that I can work with.
Is that the thing? So, like, let's say you found someone next week. Would you go to Bryan, like, hey, Bryan, I'd like to stop being, because you were on, so I think of, like, your org chart. So, like, how many people in the company?
So Bryan does all the programming and workouts. I do the marketing, the social media, so I still run both Instagrams.
Yep.
Same thing, it's like, if I could
You say both, you're talking about Laurie Christine King and Paragon.
If I could get anything this year or next year, God, I would love to offload and just run. Like, again, it's like running one big social media handle is a lot. And
which one would you offload? Personal?
Paragon.
Paragon, okay.
Yeah. I don't think you can offload your personal. Like, sure. I just don't think that's it.
Is your personal a funnel to get to Paragon? Like, have you ever looked at them and, hey, Bri, I ran the numbers. Here's how I calculated it. But 42% of the customers we get at Paragon are coming through LCK, my personal page, because I created this one special, unique, like, URL landing page, and so I'm able to track that.
So this is actually even less complicated than that. Facebook, you ask a couple questions. Hey, how'd you hear from us? Or, like, why are you here? LCK podcast.
Got it. You can literally just throw a poll up and you're seeing the data.
Even from, like, the CPA side, it's always just such a nightmare, because it's like, well, yeah, I spent money on a camera. I made this YouTube video. The video was about fucking meal prep. But at the end of the day, somebody finds it. It's like, LCK has always been this funnel of, like, I do all these different things, and maybe you follow me because you really love that I post house shit, and you really love my vibe there. Oh, like I am known as the person where it's like, yo, if you're gonna buy something, I'm the plug, because I hate being disappointed. So I'm the person, I go down the rabbit holes, I read all the reviews, I go through the pictures, like, I will bend over backwards before I spend a single penny, because I don't want to be, disappointed.
100%.
So LCK has always been the funnel to things, but it's like, dude, your girl's tired.
Well, that's it.
I wake up every day, and it's like, so many people would be like, oh yeah, I have a content calendar. It's like, I'm an intuitive poster. Like, even if last night I was like, oh, I think I'm gonna post about this tomorrow, it's like, I might wake up and be like, fuck that. Actually, one of our members posts about this, I'm gonna post about this. Like, toxic personality trait, it sucks, but
sure. Do you ever think about that from okay, I like intuitive posting. It just kind of fits my style. I'm spontaneous, whatever. But it's also, at some point, I'm going to want out of that. And at that point, it's going to be like, because it does, for you to create a system and install a way for you to kind of walk away from that is not going to happen in a month, right? That's something that's going to take a long time. how do you think about LCK? We talked about this, and I had a conversation with Marcus
Bro,
about
if I'm
it.
done with social media, I'm just a ghost. And it'd be like, bye, I'm going off the grid, catch you never.
So that's kind of how I positioned it to Marcus. I said, how much do you have a business versus a job? Because if you go away, what's like, does the money keep showing up? How do you think about the next 5 years? Are you going to try to have this more of a business for yourself? How do you get someone else to be on camera talent? These are all the things. It's like there are girls, guys listening to this that would love to have, what you've created. But
Ain't
they
nobody
also
want what it took to get here.
Yeah,
That's all
I agree. And the odds of I agree with that. But then also like, okay, but once you're there, buddy, you do realize like the golden handcuffs are the fact that I have to be on these cameras doing this thing. How do you think about that? Or is it like, honestly, at this point, I'm just going to accept that that's always going to be the thing. And when I don't want it to be the thing, I guess I'll figure it out then.
Yeah, I think, again, it's like we knew from day one, it was like, at the end of the day, if I don't post social, it's like if I take a day off Instagram, well, for sure, people aren't going to buy the things. They're not going to sign up. They're not going to do the thing. And so it's like, I'm still not comfortable with that. Again, it's like, here I am, coming on 5 years for like working on myself, almost 4 years of Paragon being launched and stuff. But it's like, what happened was I just kept posting. I've been working 7 days a week since we launched this thing.
Sure.
And so, again, it's like, I wish I had that answer. It's like if you hired any business coach to be like, oh, well, just turn off your phone after 8 p.m. and, hey, just have a content. It's like, I hear you. Trust me. I would love to just hire people to do these things. But that doesn't, again, it's like, I don't know what I'm doing on social media.
Yeah.
So how am I going to hire somebody and be like, hey, yeah, so just do this thing again, it's like.
Study me for 6 months and then just kind of intuitively know what it is that I'm doing.
Like, again, it's like even right now, the algorithm changed. We just had something where it was like, fuck videos. Now all videos are reels. They completely switched up the actual interface.
Yeah.
And so it's like, even from a content perspective, it's like things are always evolving. It used to be like, I miss Instagram when it was just like swipe posts, infographics, now it's like, okay, you need to the best time to post is going to be when there's a full moon at this specific time and you do a handstand while you click send. It's just like, nobody knows what they're doing. We're all just kind of figuring it out, always on our toes. So the same thing, it's like, again, I would love somebody to take over the Paragon Instagram. They would have to be a really good content creator. Again, are they going to start being, the face of the business? Or, are they going to do, it's just, there's so many parts to all that. So it's like, again, back to even the initial question of like, oh, you're not single anymore. It's like, well, business and working for yourself's really fucking lonely, super fucking isolating, right? So it's like compounded over time. It's like, well, yeah, like, again, it's like I've always been searching for that person that was the dude version of me and wants to go do all these things, right? And, it's like I found him, ironically, in a CrossFit gym, Ryan Fisher's gym, actually, at Chalk, right? And so it's like, even when we met, it was like at a really low, bottom of the barrel time of my life when I least expected it. Wasn't finally looking for it because I just had so much personal shit going on. And then the shoe fits and you run with it, right? You figure it out. So the same thing, it's like on the content and nutrition front, it's like, yeah, again, if I don't post to social media, we ain't making the money. So we also just, I'm working continually and forever on the boundary side of things of like, even Bryan and our other back-end person, Laurie, it's like, hey, go take a day off, right? Like I'm the person that guilty spirals like, oh shit, I didn't send out that email. Because again, it comes likely from that insecure place of like, again, I just would never, ever, like if I put out a product, I'm going to deliver 4 or 5x what that price point is because I don't ever want somebody to buy something and be disappointed. And so, ironically, that creates a really great thing because people know that if they spend money with me, that they're going to get their money's worth. And, they're going to get so much quality in that, attention to detail and care and stuff like that. But yeah, it's like, again, even when Bryan and I talk about where it's like, where do we want Paragon to be, 3 years, 5 years? It reminds me when I used to like go to those like Lululemon goal setting like seminars that they would host in person and be like, please write out your 1-year goal, your 5-year goal, your 10-year goal. And like, I would be the person with a blank piece of paper, like sweating, like nervously shaking. Cause it's like, man, like I've done so many things from like being printed in magazines, you've been on Fox News, so many podcasts and all these things. And like, again, it's just like I see opportunities and I go after them and I gamify things and I love accomplishing things, achieving things, right? But if you told me I would do any of those things the past couple of years, that was never even on my radar. It's just like the opportunity came up and I fucking ran with it, right? So same thing, it's like I don't know what I want, this company to look like years and years from now. It shifts with every single year, but again, it's like ultimately, we're about to switch apps because it'll make our job so much easier. It'll create such a better interface for people. It'll probably increase retention and maybe even bring in people because they'll be like, oh, the app fucks. Like, I used to love you guys, but like, what if I blew? We'll probably get that too. But it's like, again, we're just in a phase of like, okay, let's maintain the beast. Let's kind of plug all these holes that are in the ship and then let's see where we want to go, right? And so it's, even as we've started to look at all the app stuff, we're starting to have these ideas. But it's like, ultimately, when you're really looking at a business, it's like we want to create prices for all price points. Like if people love you, they want to buy your shit, right? So it's like, well, if you only ever just put out an ebook, well, they buy the ebook and then they're probably being like, dude, I wish Laurie would do something else, right? So it's like back before we launched Paragon, it was like, my personal business stuff was like, okay, I'm going to have this ebook for people that can't afford to work with me. It'll be super affordable, still hopefully, help them get from A to B, achieve their goals. Hey, the next price point up would be, one-on-one coaching. That's a couple $100s. I also used to do these really dope, like, group coaching programs and stuff like that. So same thing, it was, like, a little bit more expensive.
So coming up with a higher ticket offer.
And then finally, it's like, and the pandemic had, like, fucked this into the floor. But it was, like, my number one thing is, like, again, if you're in the room with me and you don't have a good time, it's a you problem. Like, when I walk in the room, everybody is having fun,
So seminars, in-person events.
Yeah, so it's like, again, it's like seminar staff, best days of my life. Teaching nutrition certification, best day of my life, right? And so, it's like getting to the in-person stuff. And so we were gearing up for all of that because it was like, bro, we could be doing in-person things where it's like, well, fuck yeah. Like Paragon people, like, let's go lift at the gym, do that thing. But like, yo, again, can we go do outside stuff? So this actual next weekend, we'll be doing an in-person seminar in Colorado. And so like when you launch something, the goal is just a little bit better, elevate the game each and every time, right? So it was like, we started really small when we started doing the in-person seminars, problem solving through, okay, again, like Bryan is incredible talking about movements and how to break them down and hey, you should be feeling it here and this and that. Whereas again, the nutrition stuff is really more where I shine. And so figuring out, okay, how do we build a weekend where you have two very, kind of center stage people? How do you make them meld? How do you make those?
Who's the participant for this? Are they customers that just want to see you in the flesh, or are these coaches who want more advanced education?
All the above. So it's actually been really cool. That's one of the things I love nerding out most is, ironically, all the people that came to our last seminar, because we give, it was basically 50-50. So it was like half existing Paragon members. We gave them a free month of membership. Basically sent an email after. It was just like, you guys are fucking awesome. Here's a free month. Thank you so much for coming, doing the thing. Same thing. All the people, it was like they were following other programs, follow me on social media, just wanted to meet us, whatever that is. But same thing, we're like, hey, come join the party for a month. Like, if you don't like it, and if you don't take advantage of it, but hey, like, just let you know, like, send us your email and we're going to give you this thing, right? Ironically, all of those people joined, now part of the family. But so same thing, it's like this next one, okay, we open the pool of participants. We know we can handle more people. We've got the gym space to do that. But same thing, it's like, hey, we're all going to go get coffee before the seminar in the morning. So we'll buy everybody's coffee, literally just hang, hug, do a thing, seminar all day long. And then the next day on Sunday, we'll be in Colorado. Why the fuck wouldn't we go hiking? So same thing. It's like, we'll meet up, we'll buy everybody coffee. We basically have, this awesome hike planned out. So same thing, it's like, we'll continue to run with it. You know, different things I would love to do. I'd love to bring in specialists for different things where it's like, hey, so this weekend's going to be specific. You know, we want to, if you happen to be currently pregnant, if you're newly postpartum, actually postpartum's forever. So if you're a mom, you know, we'll just say a weekend for moms. And so maybe we bring in a company again like BirthFit, or, you know, in this case, we work with the Mint Project, who's awesome. But so same thing, you know, kind of catering that seminar. And then, you know, again, the nutrition stuff becomes, okay, kind of here's, you know, things to keep in mind on the nutrition front, you know, pregnancy, postpartum, all that stuff. Same thing, you know, okay, you know, modifications, substitutions, you know, it's, so being able to cater specific demographics. So same thing, you know, it's like how many people love to combine, you know, hey, I'm marathon training, but I need a really badass lifting program to combine, right? So it's like having specific weekends for specific demographics. But I would, again, you know, inviting professionals that, dude, like, if you fucking rip at powerlifting and we have a powerlifting weekend, like, again, you know, like, Steffi Cohen's a badass. That would be a dream, right? Like, hey, Steffi, come for the weekend. You know, it's like, let us do what we do, but also, like, come teach the people, you know, share your gifts. So we want to really run with the in-person seminar stuff. And so, again, it's like we're just kind of in the testing phases right now of, man, I wish we could have been doing this 2 years ago. Wasn't an option. You know,
they're hard,
safety,
man.
But
From an event, from a monetization standpoint, those events are super difficult. You know, the reason, you know, if CrossFit had to have held all their level ones inside of the ballroom at a Marriott near the airport, the revenue would have just been, it's not worth it. You've got to find a gym or somewhere who's literally going to give you the space for free for you, allowing X amount of people to attend. It's
bro, like our first seminar, we were so red, like so red, because it's like, well, at the end of the day, you know, you have Bryan and I, we have to get together in the room. So I mean, the first one we did was in California. You know, then the next one we did in Colorado. You know, so it's like, well, yeah, you're saving one ticket, but it's like, you know, okay, well, we need to fly out our videographer. So and so I think the thing is, like, that's with with those seminars, we're just so transparent where it's like, y'all, this is a labor of love that we do. Like, yes, your ticket might be $300. It's because the facility is costing us $1,500 for one day because they're cutting, you know, they're not doing any classes so we can take over. So same thing, you know, it's like trying to find, you know, thankfully I have so many connections where it's like one of my good friends has a gym in DC and I'm like, yo, come, love you. Can we do the thing, right? But seminar stuff is so difficult, like, unless you're going to scale that to like have a certification. Like, but again, you know, it's like, well, the bigger price tag, you still, you know, it just creates bigger overhead. So finding the ways, but yeah, you know, it's like it's a no-brainer to us because again, you know, it's like, that is me. That is what I wish I could do. If I could do that every single weekend, like again, you know, I'm the person that I go to the CrossFit games. I go to Wadapalooza and everybody like wants to jump off a bridge at the end of the weekend because they're like, I need to go introvert. And then meanwhile, it's like, the rabbit has charge, ready to, you know. But superpower.
The events are, you know, I did an event in 2019, which sparked me wanting to step a bunch in 2020, which never happened, obviously. But like the event in 2019, I held it at the gym. We got like, sponsorships were $3,000, and I think we ended up getting 10. So my goal was like, okay, because I'm hosting my own gym, my overhead is dog shit. So I had 5 speakers. I think I paid them each $2,000. And then I think I cleared over 60 grand on that one event, and it was great, and I was really happy with it. And I was like, cool, I want to do this. It is so much work. It is one of these things though that if you want to get into the event space and you want to do stuff like that, it is so much better, in my opinion, to do infrequent, and then you just have to understand which cities draw people to. Because if you're like, okay, I'm going to do it in Charlotte, people can be like, oh, I've never been to Charlotte, I heard it's really cool, I'm going to go there. Or if it's going to be somewhere in California, like, but if you're going to have it somewhere that's like, people like, why in the fuck would I ever want to go there? You got to do it somewhere where it's got a good international. I mean, there's so many factors you got to think of. Like, how can someone make this into a weekend trip or a little bit longer of a trip so it's not just a slam bam, thank you, ma'am? Are you doing business owners like gyms? You got to do these on the weekends.
Yeah.
If you want fucking the right people coming, you got to have it on the weekends because most
like you're gonna host it on the Thursday.
Yeah, when they're working.
Let me bring my kids with. Let me, you know, good luck.
I want to switch gears. So with what you do all day long, nutrition, fitness, boob job. Right? Like boyfriend. You've shared even stuff about what's going on with your dad and the cancer and stuff like that. So like for you, how often do you draw, like, do you like throw up in the air, like, okay, boob job, do I talk about it? I got to talk about it, right? It's going to be talked about. Like my dad's being sick. Do I talk about it? Maybe I should talk about it. Like maybe I have to take a hiatus on this. Like, how do you determine what's too much, what's not enough?
So definitely, like, when I started social media, like, it's just different, right? Like, when you're talking to a very small pool of people, you know, I used to talk about everything that I was going through. It was like, Instagram was my journal. It was my diary. And ironically, you know, it's like, well, given the opportunity to connect, you know, it helps people feel closer to you, and they're part of your journey, and they're emotionally invested. I think something we talked off air about yesterday was, it's like, the bigger the social media, at some point that there's a tipping curve. And so it's like, the bigger and bigger my account has gotten, the less and less I'm sharing on certain topics or just certain things.
Because more people to take it a certain way, or because you have to hear more of the loud minority?
Just all of it, right? And so it's like, when the stuff with I actually had 2 different family members basically get diagnosed with cancer, you know, the whole ride. And so sometimes I would say, you know, there was a tipping point where it's just like, God, I literally just need to talk about this, because I feel like I'm living this double life of like, oh, I'm posting about XYZ, but actually, you know, dealing with all this. But the hard thing too is, like, I'll kind of use the phrase, I guess, trauma dumping, but it's like something I wasn't prepared for was, you know, I shared about how my dad, like, hey guys, I'm actually catching a last minute flight, and my dad's in the hospital right now. Here's what's going on, you know, blah, 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 blah. And so then people are sharing their stories, and they're sharing the things they went through, and that's so awesome. But when it's in a mass format of, again, you know, oh, well, I think at the time, you know, I had maybe 90,000 followers, and I already normally average, you know, a couple hundred DMs a day, and then you're getting, again, not just stuff that you can like double tap, heart, you know, it's like big stuff like that therefore requires a big response.
They're recommending you to specialist doctors, or telling you go here, like stuff that comes from the heart. It's good.
Everything of like personal experience, and so it's like, that was a learning experience too, where it was just like, oof, that was, because then again,
would you go back? Would you do it? Would you share it again?
I would do things differently. It's the same thing, you know, it's like you share something once, and maybe, you know, there's tons of discussion in the comments, DMs, whatever, but the thing, it keeps going, right? So it's like, imagine your father's not doing well, and then a week later you put up a Q&A box, and somebody's like, hey, how's your dad doing? And the answer is not well. Things are downhill, or you know, anything like that. So I've learned over the years, and again, it's like you're always learning, but it's the ways that we talk about things or open up for conversation, setting boundaries and stuff like that. You know, that's what I would say. So it's like, for sure, I would still probably share in some capacity, but I would have set myself up better. But again, it was like, at the time, it was just like, it was emotional, and just needed to like get it off my chest also. But, you know, same thing. It's like, I was so hesitant when I did start seeing somebody to even post about it on social media, because again, it's like, well,
it doesn't work out.
Yeah. What if it doesn't work out? Right. So it's like, I'll never forget. Like, I know, longtime friend had like, met this girl, they were together, I don't know, we'll say 6 months, but same thing, like, had a couple 100,000 followers, you know, so always posting, always doing whatever. Long story short, they broke up, and then it was like 4, 5, 6 months later, in his comment section, you were still seeing, oh, hey, I haven't seen this person, like, what happened, right? So it's like, it's like you just have to be so careful, because again, you know, it's like, I do want to share, you know, what's going on, but at the same time, you know, again,
it gives you a third dimension, because if it's just nutrition and fitness, you know, again, like relationships, like, oh, there's more to that person than that. And it does allow people to connect and touch base with you. But at the same time, it also, like, it's funny, like, you know, for you, I maybe subconsciously, I'm curious whether you'd agree with me on this. When let's say like you were leaving, you're doing your thing, go see family because your dad was sick, and you're making that post, is there even 1.5% shred that's in the back that's like, I almost feel like I'm having to call my boss and be like, hey, I'm not going to be in at work. Because what if you go 7 days without posting because you're just fucking at the camp at the foot of the bed at the hospital? Yeah. But it's almost like I have to check in with my boss to make sure that they know I'm not going to be at work, and here's why. It's a legit excuse.
Yeah, no, it's like I said, social media is just such an interesting beast because at the end of the day, if I didn't post for a day, most people actually probably wouldn't notice. And meanwhile, I'm the person that's like, holy shit, in years of doing this is like the 1 in 5 times I took a day off. Like, is everything, burned down? Like I said, it's just interesting because when you're on the behind of it versus, again, when you're on the receiving end, the reality is, well, other people are in their feed, other things are going on, the algorithm that day. But, it's like, even kind of like the past 6 months, I had a lot of just personal life stuff that was going on, and same thing, you'd just be like, man, I can't talk about this on social media. Ooh, but at the end of the day, just figuring out, kind of what you feel comfortable sharing, what you don't. I still, again, it's like I just want, part of why people have loved following me is because there's such a part of social media where it is just highlight reels, and it's like how many people you'll see always posting super shredded pictures of themselves when like you might bump into them in real life and be like, oh, those pictures are not current shit, right? Yeah. So it's like I always just try, it's like my goal with social media is always, it's like just like with you actually, it was like we didn't even have to meet in person because I knew that you were exactly online. Like, exactly what you're getting. And I've met so many people that that's not the case, right? So it's like, whatever I am, I might not be your cup of tea, and that's totally fine. I won't want to be everybody's cup of tea. But, it's like, if I am your cup of tea, I want your experience with me to be the same, no matter what. Like, you know exactly what you're getting. There's not surprises. So that's something that I do. It's like being authentic in that way has always been really important to me. But same thing, it's like at the end of the day, you cannot control how people receive whatever it is you're putting out. And the number of times where it's like I might have shared something and the way it's received by people, and you're like, shit, what? Like that wasn't what I was trying to project.
I didn't expect you to download it that way.
Right. And so it's like sometimes you're just like, wait, what? And so again, it's like you can only the best you can do is just be aware, take the feedback, and that's it. But that is the interesting thing about social media is like the things that you will hear about yourself, and you're like, who started that, or what telephone game did that begin with? Like, where did that come from? And it's like I said, you just don't have control over it. But equal parts, again, it's like it is interesting.
You see it in the movies, the celebrity or the politician, something happens and their PR person runs in like, all right, John, we got to get ahead of this, right? It's like that. Yeah. Like when I got divorced, I called Pastuch and I was like, hey, I want to come on your podcast and I want you to like interview me and grill me and ask questions about the divorce. Number one, I don't think there's enough entrepreneurs talking about how difficult it is to be with somebody. And she was an entrepreneur too. So it wasn't that, but it was like just being in a relationship when you also, your entire life is consumed by your business. Yeah. It's difficult, right? So I wanted to get that out. When I was shutting down the gym, I'm like, all right, I need that narrative is going to get away real quick unless I very transparent. I share all the information about it and put it out there. So you're right. There's times when you have to be 100% calculated. And there are times like where maybe I don't give enough information on something. And that actually comes back to bite me where I'm actually like, all right, actually oversharing is better for me because at least then someone asks a question, I'm like, oh, dude, go back and look at the video I made on YouTube. It's there. All the information's there and it's time-stamped. You can't call me a liar, anything like that. But it is. It's something that you have to think of. And that's where like it.
Well, and the word is consume, right? Like at some point you switch from being a person to being something that people consume.
A channel.
Just like Netflix or, whatever it is. Kind of back to like when I got my boobs done. I think it was like same thing. It was like I knew I wanted to share about getting a boob job because there was so much learning opportunity on, I was the person that probably would have done it sooner if I had heard, it was like Brooke Entz, for example, did podcasts about like, yep, got my boob job. Here's what it looked like. Here's a process. Fuck. Like, it ended up with a botched job. Okay, I had to get a second one. Here's how I did better a second time. It's like I was out there like trying to binge so many things because again, it's like there's a difference between, hey, I'm a mom with kids and I don't really work out, gets a boob job versus, hey, like my body is my business. I need to be able to bench press. I need to be able to do pull-ups. And so it's like, I wanted, again, it's just interesting. So it's like, I knew that I wanted to share because I wanted to share what that recovery process looked like. I wanted to share about, you know, the questions I was asking, what, you know, how to get started in that process if it's something you decide, you know, that you want to go down, you know. Part of it for me, it was just like, I just didn't want to look overly fake. I was so scared of looking like a porn star. You
didn't want to ever be on a podcast
videos.
and someone like, hey, Laurie, have you ever bought followers? You're like, I've never bought followers ever. They're like, bullshit, you got a boob job, right? It's the same goddamn thing. And it is like, I've seen there are people in the fitness industry that do it. And then it is like, it's on display, kind of like there's some people, they get a new car and that like, you either do it's for one of those things that I was sharing with you. You know, my sister got a boob job done as well, and she's very physically active. You're really physically active. There's I think almost way more risk in that calculation than there is reward long term. Because I mean, oh my God, she came and worked out with me the week before that I flew down here last week. And I was like running up to work and I'm like, cool, what are you good to do overhead? Because I remember you can't do a lot of stuff overhead. It's still, there's so much risk in there for someone who's got a physically demanding job or a fitness-based job.
Oh, bro. And again, it's like over the years, like I cringe at content from me of 2017, 18, 19, because it was just like, ugh. Whereas now, you know, again, present day, it's like I spend so much, there's a lot of likelies and sometimes and maybes and
you're making less affirmative dead ass statements.
It's like as nuanced as possible in 2,200 characters and still having anxiety because I know it's not
in some scenarios this is an answer.
But you know, it's like same thing. You know, it's like again at the end of the day, people feel so strongly about certain things, and we're seeing that right now with women's health. We're seeing that right now with so many things. And so it's like at the end of the day, you know, it's like when I finally did post about my boob job, that was actually the opening line was like, whew, all right, cat's out of the bag, y'all. Like I did this thing. I just wasn't ready to share it. I needed time to figure out how to do it the right way. And still, you know, getting like there were people following me where it'd be like, oh, well, I can't believe that, you know, you eat grass-fed beef and have XYZ, but you got boobs, so now you're dead to me. Or, oh, you just want, you know, oh, you didn't do this for yourself and it's for other, and you're like, okay, like.
I always thought you were so smart. You even like in your copywriting, like even when you spell titties, TIDDES, it just like, when I read it, I'm like, oh, it feels so much more I don't know if playful or innocent or whatever. Like you're typing it the way like a 6-year-old would say it, right? Yeah. Like, but it's
sometimes it's the little watermelon emoji.
Yeah, correct.
Because I would be like, part of that also is it's like fear of like
Instagram grabbing shit.
Yeah, Instagram just like you can't spell out dick. Like you got to be like eggplant or exclamation or whatever.
But no, I was always like even if you didn't do it purpose, I'm like, always said just smart because it just takes this subject where some people are so left or right of it.
People are
just
very
chill it out.
Well, if you like, it's like again things you learn over social media. It's like things that people get triggered by: breast augmentations, any sort of cosmetic surgeries, any sort of like Botox filler, lip filler. Like again, they're hot button things where it's just like it doesn't matter how you post about it. Like there are people that go AWOL and you're just like, bro, are we good? Are we okay, right? But yeah, you know, it's like there were people that, you know, again, it's just like I wish I had saved some of these DMs because it's like you receive stuff and you're just like, bro, like yikes. But people that unfollowed me because again, you know, it's like ironically, my dad still doesn't know I have a boob job because you would never know, right? Like that was.
You've never had the conversation with him?
Absolutely not.
Your mom knows though, right?
So timing, first of all. So I got my boob job
right around the time he got sick.
Same exact time. It was like 2 weeks later when my father ended up in the hospital. You know, for all his kidney, you know, all of the cancer stuff and whatever. And man, yeah,
You're
no. Hey, Dad, I know things are unwell right now, but I just want to let you know your little girl, which again, your princess.
Your princess, yeah.
Brothers. My.
Dad, if you're worried,
as I put this out to the air, and this is how my
correct, yeah. Dad, I know you're worried about fighting cancer right now, but I got another bit of heartbreak for you. Yeah, compounding. So so, I mean, will that be something like, are you one day just going to have, like, are you eventually maybe going to go home for Thanksgiving and just be like, I'm going to choose violence at Thanksgiving?
Absolutely
And
not.
hey, Dad, pass me the mashed potatoes. And by the way,
Absolutely not. No,
you're just wearing the biggest oversized sweaters you fucking can.
well, again, though, right? It's like the number of people that even when I posted videos were like, wait, you got booed. You know,
Sure.
like, again, it's like you see on social media the people where it's like, hey, I went from like nothing to like, you know,
Sure.
big old,
It's obvious,
big
yeah.
old titties. But yeah, it's like same thing. You know, it's like I wish I had shared more about the breast augmentation stuff too. But again, it's like things got a little dicey because I was like, okay, we're doing it, like we're going in. But then all of a sudden I didn't prepare for this, where it was like, I would be fielding all of these questions that I am not
don't know the answer for.
They are not mine to answer, right? Where it'd be like, oh, well, how do I modify this? When can I start doing this? Hey, well, but my, you know, I thought we weren't supposed to do X, Y, Z. And so again, it's like, how many times can I also reiterate, y'all, there's a difference between, hi, this is what I do for a living. And sure, in my day-to-day training, you know, if we program barbell bench press, well, I will sub dumbbell and I'm going incline, or you know, same thing. It's like if there's dumbbell press hybrids, you know, I'm gonna do bent over, you know, whatever, right? But it's like there's still this difference of conversation. Like, this is what I do for a living, and I have to do these things, therefore I do them, but I'm still subbing. Versus, you know, again, it's like, well, you have your conventional CrossFit person. It's like, oh, well, but should I be doing these things? Bro,
Yeah.
like I have accepted my implants aren't gonna last as long because of my job, and that's okay. And I've gotten in bed with that, but like I can't tell you when, you know, when to go back to the gym. Like, like go talk to your doctor, right?
Yeah.
So it's like something I do want to bring back is, you know, I still do on occasion. You know, it's like if I put up a video, I'll talk about like, hey, chest supported anything, like chest supported rows.
Yeah.
Good fucking luck. Hey, I'm gonna grab a landmine. I'm gonna grab this handle, you know, do these things. So it's like, I will share stuff like that. I try to be playful with it.
That's when you should have, like, you talk to the doctor, be like, hey, listen, can I just tag you and tell everyone when they've got questions to go to your DM in your Instagram? And I don't know, if it turns into something very profitable for you, you fucking knock like $1,000 off per tit, like something like that.
But yeah, you know, it's like I said, you know, it's like you can, where we go with all that is like, you can have the best of intentions, but again, you know, it's like you try to project also how people will respond, but sometimes you're just not prepared no matter what. And so sometimes, you know, you just learning experience. Okay, on to the next, and you know, I'll do better next time for sure.
Have you had anyone come to you and want to pay you from a business coaching perspective of how do I create an online thing? And here's the deal: is you took inspiration from someone at some point, like someone had an online business and you were like, that's cool. Or
Oh, I mean, I can tell you, like,
Yeah.
It was Ryan Fisher, and Ryan Fisher and I were good friends for so many years because it was like, we had the same identical business problems. Like, sure, he had more members. You know, he was a little ahead of his game always, and still always will be, where it's like, you know, he's trying to build a custom app or do all these things. And it's like, yeah, like, we might be there someday, but we're still dealing with, you know, these lower end problems. But he was always that person where it was like, oh, we're thinking about doing this. And, you know, he was the person that I could just call in and be like, I need to like shoot the shit with somebody that's in the space. Right?
Besides now that I truly get it, like that you truly love being out here, but I was like, I remember when like, what was it? Like, what's the one kid? Dan Bailey went to go live with Rich Froning. Right? You want to become the best at something, you go hang out around the person doing it. Like, and there was a moment when I saw you relocated, I was like, oh, well, that makes sense. Like, she goes to chalk and she kicks it with Ryan and she's going to learn, like, and I'm like, that's actually incredibly smart and intelligent, in my opinion. Now, have you ever, like, within the community, because you got to think about it, there are almost 4,000 people that are following your thing, and they might have that 9 to 5 and they don't truly enjoy it. They have actually, and you might not even be aware, like during the time they've been with Paragon, they went and got a CrossFit level 1 and 2 or an ACE or whatever this, or a CSCS. Have you guys ever thought about shooting off the flare, be like, hey, we would host some business educational support, seminar, Q&A, consulting, throw it as a high ticket offer and see, I mean, like, Again, because it's like, it's essentially you're throwing all your nutrition and fitness fucking poles are in that goddamn water.
Yeah.
You've got, I mean, like, how many more programs is Paragon going to have to come up with?
Right.
But like, it's a completely different one, and it's one that you could charge more for because the end result is always money. It's always money. Nutrition and fitness for most of those people, it's just self-worth, satisfaction, health, wellness, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever thought about throwing something like that in the water?
So you'll laugh. When I used to work for the Nutritional Coaching Institute, I got into business coaching because, again, it's like, well, if you launch a nutrition certification, well, then you need to help people actually run their business.
Yeah,
right?
correct,
So it
yeah.
was like there was this mentorship program that they did and all this stuff. And so the problem is a me problem where it's like, again, money's not a motivator for me and it doesn't excite me. It's like, again, I get more geeked on, hey, I'm dealing with all these signs and symptoms. I feel like shit. I'm not getting from where, it's like everything is a puzzle to me where I want to figure it out. And I want to, what things do we do to, to get over that? So way back, years and years ago, I did the business coaching thing and I hated it. And then I went back to nutrition and fitness. So same thing. It's like, I would say the biggest thing is we don't have the bandwidth for it, right? Again, it's like at the end of the day, I would love, it's like you talk to people and it's like, oh, well, you should have days off work and you should hire more people and do all these things. It's like, bro, yeah, like it's been a work in progress, right? It's like we started this thing. My goal all of this year has just been taking back my life slowly, right? It's like I want to get to a place where, yeah, I can take days off work and yeah, I can do these things, or I could take a vacation and peace out. But again, we've still always been at a place where if I ain't pulling all the triggers, the business isn't running forward. And like I said, people just don't get that because their solution is, oh, just hire people. Well, great. We don't, if I'm going to hire people, then I already don't have the time, but I have to develop all these procedures and processes and how they do it. And then they do something and then they fuck it up because of course they don't know how to do it. So of course they don't do it correct, right? It's just this big, this big circle and this big thing. So I think on the nutrition, it's the nutrition fitness front, it works because we love it so much.
Sure.
And at the end of the day, I tell people, it's like Paragon works and Paragon blew up because at the end of the day, I'm still that kid from 2012 that's a gym rat. And, I would be at the gym even if I wasn't making money. I'm there to hang out. I'm just, living and breathing and doing the thing. I still love this just as much as I did way back when. And reversely, it's like, again, if I was in this for the money, probably still wouldn't be doing all this. Because again, it's like most people want to be able to take vacations and have days off and all that stuff. I've just never gotten to that point, even though, again, it's like it's on the radar. Again, hey, I really, again, thank God for being in a relationship and finally having it at that point. But, again, it's like I don't have a lot of the wants and desires most people have where it's like, oh, yeah, I want to like have kids and do all this stuff. It's like, I assume that probably at 60 years old, I'll still be hustling because it's just how I'm wired. I truly think, you think of those entrepreneurs where it's like, oh, well, I started this business, I slowly did this, and I slowly, it's like, I'm sure, like I said, I'll be one of those people that I'm still doing crazy shit, catch me in 10 years. Oh, what you go on to do next, right? Again, if this all fails me, fuck it. I'm just going to go, hey, can I decorate your houses that you're,
yeah.
Hey, I'll help you design a really gangster gym. Like, let's go, right? It's like I'll be doing something of that nature. But yeah, it's like we just don't have the bandwidth for it. We're still, again, it's like we're still figuring it out. And, again, it would be a dream to just hire so many people for, hey, teach me how to email market, teach me how to do all these things, right? But it's like we're still just so kind of like grassroots of like figuring it out, doing our best, and, still just throwing shit at the, paint at the wall too, trying to figure it out.
It keeps it fun.
Yeah.
It keeps it fun.
Oh,
well, it's,
100.
as someone who's been a big fan of yours from afar, I can tell you I've really been happy to see you make a little couple selfish moves, because in this business, we're selfishly selfless. We sacrifice our own things we might selfishly want, relationships, living in areas with great climates, buying ourselves nice shit because we want to constantly get back to the business, hence get back to the customer, whatever it may be. And then, seeing you come out here and make that move, right? And I understand, and you, Kevin, you still have a fully loaded apartment that you're still paying rent on out there, and this and it, like
she teeny these days.
Correct, yeah.
Your girl, well, and it's like trying to explain my life to social media. It's a complicated answer always, because it's like specifically like the bright neon skull that we're sitting in front of. I had posted, like, because I basically went, or I just didn't know how this year was going to go for me. And so it's like a lot of the things that were keeping me in Texas kind of, got removed from my life. And so, again, it's like, if you could have told me that, way back in December when I was like signing, this little lease in California, oh, by the way, you're going to move, and 2 months later, you're going to meet that man that you've been like manifesting for years and years. And, oh, hey, by the way, XYZ is going to happen. It's like, again, it was just one of those, like, I knew that I was grinding my gears in Dallas, and I knew that I just, at an increasing rate, I didn't have the things that I needed to be happy. And that's, again, like one trait about myself. It's like, I cannot tolerate situations that I don't want to be in. You have so many people where it's like, God, I fucking hate my job, and they're still gonna grind so they get the it's like, I can't do it. And it's like the best and worst trait about myself, because it's just like, if I am not happy in the situation I'm in, I figure it out and I find a way different, right? So it was like, for me, what happened was, it was like, I had always loved coming to California. It's like I would come here and I'd be like, man, this is where I will find my future husband. Like, they've got the good hair, they dress how I want dressed. Like, I go to other places, and like, especially like now, even when I go back to Texas and I look around, I'm like, y'all ain't my people, and it's okay. It was like, I remember the very first day, actually, I moved to Dallas. We went and got tacos. It's like 11 p.m. at night, because we just made the god-awful drive from Illinois to Texas. And I look around, and it's like, every dude is wearing like a pastel polo and, and some loafers. I'm like, yo, miss me, right?
Not seen.
But, it's like at point value, it's like there are so many things that keep me going back to Texas, and I do love, it's like here, located where we're located in Orange County, you would have to go really far away to wake surf. And it's like, that's one thing that I actually wanted to compete in this year, because I was like, damn, I'm really good. But just some unexpected stuff, came up and whatever. And so it was like, I still love going back to Texas. I still have my oldest brother and kids live there. So same thing, like just making that point of, hey, family is important, and, going to see them and all that stuff. So usually, how it goes truly is, it's probably, I'd say, like every 3 to 4 weeks, and or like if we're just having shit weather here and the weather is better, I'm going back and forth between each place. But it's like, for me, I just love variety. I love switching it up. But mutually, it's like California is funny, because when it's just beautiful and sunny outside, you have some days where you're like, why the fuck is it sunny again? Be shit, right?
Can I have a shitty day so I feel good about being inside working.
Totally. And so it's like, here my life is, but that was always my goal, was like, I knew that I wanted dual residences so that, I could go back and forth as I please. If I again wake up on a Tuesday, I'd be like, oh, I think I'm gonna go back, and boop, and sure enough, I do, right? But for the normal person, same thing. It's like, I don't want kids. I have no desire to own a house and anchor myself down. Like, I've never, even, 5 to 6 months in a lease, and I'm like, I gotta go. Like, this opportunity came up. I must, hop cities or, do whatever it is. So it's just like this little nomad that's just always on the go, always, kind of crushing life. And again, it's like the people out there that get it, where it's like, oh, dude, yeah. It's like one of our coaches, actually, Erica, she's the same way, where it's like every 8 months she'll be like, and I'm off to this city, this state, this whatever, just like loves chaos. But meanwhile, it's like the reality of the situation is, it's like when we downsized my apartment in Dallas, basically down to the studio, it was like, we moved all my stuff literally in 4 hours, just like boop, boop. It's like very minimalist, but it's like I love renting. But yeah, it's like at the end of the day, I don't want to be anchored down like that. Whenever life feels like a cage and I feel like I'm stuck, I'm not in it. And so, same thing. It was like, I just knew that I was kind of, even business-wise, it was like, I don't like being the highest performer in the room. I don't like, yes, all of my close friends run these awesome nutrition coaching businesses and, crushing it. But like, where are the people like me that, you know, want more and they're hungry for more? It's like, I always want to be around those people. You know, it's even, I told like Charlie after you left, I was like, God, it's just so awesome to have people that you can just talk about business shit rather than, you know, again, oh, how's the weather outside?
Yeah.
Oh, how's these things, right? Like being able to just talk about like, God, we have this problem and we haven't figured it out. Like what's the answer? Same thing. I was like, yo, you got a really good bookkeeper? Cause I need one, right? Like, you know, it's just stuff like that. So yeah,
that's the whole point though. And that's what I love. And, you know, even in coming out here and hanging out with you, is like, I saw from a distance, I'm like, it's cool. Cause I look at you, biologically, you're a few years younger than me, but like in business wise, you know, watching you kind of grow this thing and then like, cool. Now she's taking a few selfish moves, like, you know, like, and enjoying it. Cause that's the whole thing.
Well, and part of it was because I had so many periods also where it was like, you know, I'm the person that's like, if I'm super stressed, I don't eat.
Correct.
Like, what the fuck is hunger? Like, can I buy it? Right. So it's like the periods where I did run my health into the ground because, you know, the pandemic happened and you're just doing this thing or whatever. So it's like, it's come and gone in waves, but also it's like, you learn over time how to protect yourself from or in this case, it's like, Charlie's been the best thing that's ever happened to me. Cause it's like, he literally, you know, it's like, hasn't seen me in 3 hours and it's like he'll just show up in the office with food and you're like, fuck, thanks, right? You know, so it's like it's getting better, but that is always the thing is it's like, you know, for some people they have that family or their kids that always come first. Well, I don't have those. Like my business, you know, our members, those are my babies. You know, those are the things that I will always, you know, sacrifice my health for. So it's been again, you know, you learn better after, you know, some things, but getting towards that place of taking care of yourself so you can continue to give back to people.
Ladies and gentlemen, Laurie Christine King, thank you so much for doing this. This was awesome.
Bud.
Thank you.